Today is December 19th, 2024, and this is our 5 o'clock Fiscal Court work session. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm looking for Dr. Tope. He was going to do a little blessing today, but I don't see him. So we're going to keep moving. Alrighty. So I'm going to ask, is there any public comments tonight? From any? Alrighty. Go ahead and say your name, and just so you remember, we do 3 minutes. So welcome, Robin.
Thank you. My name is Robin Antonucci. I'm the Executive Director of the Frankfort-Franklin County Tourist Commission. I am here tonight to speak on your agenda items 8 and 9, the Franklin County Sports Commission proposed ordinances. I'm here tonight to urge you to table this issue or delay your vote on these ordinances, or at least the start of these ordinances, until more details can be worked out. We cannot support them as they currently are written with the January start date. It is a complex issue, and there's a lot of details that have not been worked out. We don't have a clear answer on how we will be made whole, how our funding will be made up for this loss of revenue through this process. Right now, between January and June of 2025, we have $100,000 worth of advertising contracts in place. This puts that at risk, and those contracts are for advertising for attractions in the county as well as the city. So that's a big issue. If we become the Frankfort Tourist Commission, we don't have the details on how that all will be worked out. We have not met with the city. We have not come to the table on any of this. How does that affect our staff? How does that affect future funding and so on? There's a lot of complexities to this issue, probably interlocal agreements, MOAs, and things like that that haven't been worked out. So we ask that we can come to the table and work with you, work with the city to hammer out some of these details. Just the tax modifications alone are complicated, especially with the January start date. You know, how can that even be put in place? There's only about 5 or 8 working days left in the calendar year. So that seems pretty much impossible. So I'm urging you to table this vote or delay this and bring us to the table, bring the city to the table. Let's work together on this and figure out what the next steps are. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Any other public comments?
A little bit different subject. My name is John Heltzel. I'm with the Franklin County Emergency Food Pantry. I'm here to say thanks. We held the largest food drive probably in Frankfort's history earlier this month, led by Kentucky State Police, but admirably led by Sheriff Chris Quire and Captain Daniel Willis, who organized the sheriff's portion. For your all's information, we're the only community that we know of in the Commonwealth that brings in Kentucky State Police, the Sheriff's Office, and Frankfort Police Department. It was an overwhelming success. We collected thousands of pounds of food, which will let us feed the hundreds of families that we feed each year. Thousands of people are fed through the pantry. We're completely independent from government, but we depend on the community for everything we do. We're 100% volunteer and all donations based. And it means a lot that you all stepped up and supported this the way you did. We support everybody who comes before us that needs food support. We have a process that we use that's fair and equitable, and there are people that depend on this food. And without these food drives, your emergency food pantry would not be able to function. So, Judge, appreciate you standing in line at Kroger's and helping us out, and everybody else that showed up. This is the biggest volunteer effort we had ever in the history of the pantry. It's grown, but we're going to put every bit of it to use. But I just wanted to stop for a second. We're catching our breath after that drive, but I wanted to say thank you all for your support very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Squire Tanner.
May I ask you a question? How equipped are you now to handle the demand?
Today, we're in really good shape. The pantry is full. I told people this earlier, and I don't want to go too wide. When we get to this point of the year, this particular food drive is make or break for us. If it goes well, we make our budget, we can continue to operate. If it doesn't, we have to dip into some reserves that we've got. This will let us get months into 2025, so we're in good shape today. The community of Franklin County is very supportive of what we do, and it's a community-based solution to food equity issues. So we're in good shape, and I appreciate the question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here tonight and everything you all do with the food pantry. Any other public comments? I thought I saw another hand. Come on.
I'm Mark Stone, local hotel owner-operator. I'm also the current chairman of the Frankfurt and Franklin County Tourist Commission, and also the president of the local Hotel Motel Association. I wanted to comment also on the same thing as Robin. I wanted to bring it up from the hotel perspective. I would also encourage you all to table or delay this if for no other reason than the implementation of this by January 1st is nearly impossible. In Franklin County, we have hotels that are associated with Marriott, Hilton, Best Western, Holiday Inn, Wyndham. Every one of those hotels has a different property management system, a different computer system. It's not as simple as getting on the system and entering a few keystrokes to change the tax rates. That all has to go through Hilton or Marriott. We have to contact them, get into their queue, find the right person that maintains the computers. And like Robin said, we have a very few days left before January 1st. It would be nearly impossible. Well, it would be absolutely impossible for every hotel to get this implemented by the 1st of January. It'd also be extremely difficult for all the short-term rentals when they deal with Verbo and the agreement that the state has to collect those taxes. There would be a very roundabout process to get them to make those changes as well. So if we don't delay, then we'll have to come up with some method of having delinquent taxes, because there's just no way we'd be able to start collecting them on January 1st. So
Okay.
That's what I wanted to throw out.
Thank you. Squire Wilson.
Mark, I wanted to ask you specifically, maybe, could you give us a little insight into, imagining so many conferences and vacations and things booked so far ahead, and they have
Right.
an expectation of a certain price that they booked at, but with this going into place, that would change, particularly the city's hotels.
Yeah.
Well, all of them, but.
That's absolutely an issue, because when someone had booked, if they booked yesterday for a stay in March, you can sometimes prepay for that stay. You're given the total, you pay the amount. If these things change, then, that puts us in a difficult position to go away. I mean, how happy would you be if you booked it, I gave you the rate, you paid it, and then I email you and say, hey, just kidding, we got to charge you more money. So that's definitely an issue, and another reason that the more time that we can be given before we do anything like this, the easier it will be to implement and have it work properly.
If this were to go forward, I'm trying to wrap my head around how something like this might be a phased-in approach, where there would be a period where those that prepaid would not be subject to an additional 4% of their bill.
Something like that
or how
would
could
be
we-
great, for us to make this. I don't know how that would all be worked out, but again, that's, why Robin's asking if we can be involved in this process going forward, because those are the issues that we need to figure out a way to work out, moving forward.
Thanks.
So, sure.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Oh, come on up. Hey, Nathan. Go ahead and state your name, please.
Yep, I'm Nathan Deppenbrock with Canoe Kentucky and Kentucky River Tours. I feel like we're one of the businesses, two of the businesses that would be affected probably negatively by this passage. I do want to say we're not against sports tourism by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like this was an issue that was brought up a couple of years ago, and it's kind of sat to where there's not been a lot of public input recently on it. I do think it's important that we've got a lot of big projects going on in our community. It's really easy to say that some of our projects are state, some are city. Me specifically running a boat underneath a bridge that I had to walk by today just to get here that's not operational. That's not a county, city, a state project, that's a community project. And I think we have a lot of big things going on in our community right now, and this just seems like another big thing. And if we're gonna do this, we wanna be successful, we wanna do it right. I understand the model that we're trying to utilize with McCracken County, but if you do some research, McCracken County is not Franklin County. They're in a completely unique situation that we're in. Their closest competition for a sports park is 70 miles away in a different state. Most of their competition's over 100 miles away. Here in Franklin County, we have 5 communities that have sports facilities. And those are all within 50 miles of us. They're very, very close. So I just want to make sure that if we do something like this, it's thought out. Franklin County Frankfurt Tourism does a lot of work for our community. It's not just businesses like mine, but people that come and ride on the river with us or canoe in a kayak down the Elkhorn Creek. They spend money at the restaurants, the gas stations, the hotels. We can directly see in our books how Franklin County Frankfurt Tourism actually promotes us and does stuff. So I would be in line with Robin and Mark, just asking that the issue could be tabled to where more discussion can come in. You have professionals and experts in your community. We, as a provider of over 45 years of outdoor experiences in town, would love to work with you guys to say, how do we make this successful for everybody? So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments?
Hello. I feel like I'm at the principal's office right now. All eyes. I'm Susie Hosley. I'm the executive director for Downtown Frankfurt Incorporated. And I too just wanted to give our public support statement of support for the Franklin County Tourist Commission. To echo what Nathan said, again, we're not against DFI, certainly not against sports tourism. We just want to make sure that the tourism office stays whole. They're a vital partner for downtown Frankfurt, and as Robin mentioned, there's so much planning already starting for the year, and for me, DFI, we're already starting our events and how they're going to look this year. We just finished our program of work, and we work very closely with the tourism office as a marketing arm for those community-wide events, which brings in not only residents throughout the community, but also regional. So just again, wanted to express our support for the Frankfurt Tourism Office, Franklin County Tourism Office. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Any other public comments while we're here? All righty. Seeing none, I believe the sheriff. There he comes. Yeah. Come on in. Everybody's waiting on you. Everybody's waiting on you, Sheriff.
I think Captain Abrams is going to do this PowerPoint.
Oh,
I've been a little under the weather. I'm not contagious anymore, so don't be too scared of me, but they're going to do most of the work for me. Thank you.
as normal, but thank you.
Did you go to bed?
No, that's his look. Yeah, it's his new look, I'm telling you.
He's all hat, no cattle.
I'll tee that up. You can get me later, but
Yeah.
I'll tee that right
Yeah,
up.
I think it looks good. It looks distinguished. Yeah. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, sir. Jeff Abrams, I'm captain for the sheriff, running the school resource program for him. We talked about just kind of doing an annual update and bringing you all some information. Again, thank you all so much for the support that the court's shown this program. I think it's been just something that's really well received throughout our community, our parents, our staff, and our kids. I just put together a few bullet points that I thought I would run through. And this is going to touch on the fact that one of the things that I do is I have our entire team, which is 12 SROs plus myself. We contribute monthly to an activity report, and that could be anything from working a crash to police activity, criminal charges, that type of thing. Not all of them are criminal charges, but I've tried to break this down so that I can kind of explain, what we're doing now. Keep in mind, when I talk about statistics and law enforcement action and police reports, that's a very small part of what we do. Day in and day out, what we do more than anything. It's a matter of developing relationships and building trust with the kids. One of the things that I've seen a kind of an increase in is as we've been in the schools, it appears that the kids themselves, and also the parents to some degree, have really developed a level of trust that I feel like we're getting a lot more reports come in that might have otherwise gone unreported with regard to neglect and abuse and those type of things. It's a terrible, terrible thing, but the more we know about, the more we can try to prevent and intervene and make those people whole. So I feel like we've seen a real a noticeable uptick in that, and again, I credit that to the rapport that's being built with the deputies in the schools. So our ongoing effort, and I've told the folks, the men and women on my team, that our goal is zero. You know, we want to do zero police activity. We're not wanting to police the schools. I know that we'll probably never get to zero realistically, but I think you got to aim for the stars and do the best you can. And I guess we can go on to the next slide. And again, I won't belabor it a lot, but I just kind of broke this down in comparison from 23 to 24. And rather than going through line item and line item, I put down the total contacts that we had in 23 is 285. You can see that's come down some in 2024, but the big number that I wanted to point out was the total criminal charges that we've had to charge. And this is everything from certain assaults to drug possessions, those type of things. So as you can see, if you'll click to the next slide, we've seen a total reduction in contacts by 16%, but the big number is that 35% reduction in criminal charges. So I'm really proud of that, and it's actually something that as the new school year has begun, that a lot of the deputies in the schools have come to me and they go, I feel like I'm not doing anything because they're not bringing as much stuff into the schools, and we're not having as many fights. And I said, no, you're doing exactly what we want you to do. We want you to prevent and suppress that kind of stuff instead of having to react to it and act upon it. So now that we have 2 school years, we've seen that noticeable increase has taken effect. This is something that's interesting too, and when I reached out, and there's a couple of little slides here at the end just that we'll click through that I'll show you. I think last year I showed some of the little appreciation cards, and every one of the SROs, their offices are completely full of that stuff, and of course they love that. But one of them brought this up to me, and I thought I would point it out, that now that we've had a couple of years that we've had even the elementary schools staffed, we're seeing kids who have transitioned from elementary to middle and then middle to high school who are openly coming up to their new SRO at their new school, and they have that sense of trust already built, and they want to talk about their friendship they had with their previous SRO. So I feel like that's one of the big keys is developing that long-term relationship and trust with law enforcement. And, we can, as the bottom one shows there, it never ceases to amaze me because we do work a lot of the special events and football and basketball games and that. And when I go out and I see maybe a middle school SRO working a high school football game, the number of middle school students that are there watching the game that seek out their SRO to come up and go, hey, and talk to them. So it's really good. It's been a great thing. And, these guys have gotten to the point, and girls, to where, I can pretty much call them up and drop a name, and they know the kid. They have a relationship with them. So it's real good. And then the next slides this is just a pile and this is actually from Elkhorn Middle School, where Mark Little, he was given the SRO of the Year award at the Sheriff's Christmas party this year. He's been a rock star out there. They absolutely love him. But they truly have taken ownership of the school, and they see it as their own personal objective to make sure that individual building is secured. This came from over at Franklin County High School, SRO Kelly. Inside that, I didn't want to make an extra slide, but inside there's a bunch of brownies. So, yeah.
That you brought tonight to share, right?
Right. And this is a thank you note he got from the class of 24. They do a lot of work as far as helping chaperoning. But previous to us having this program, now that we're able to work through it with some comp time and different things, it's saving these senior classes. They were having to pay for the security details before. So our guys are doing it for comp time. And so it's saving them some money and some funds. One of our newest SROs, Deputy John Dudinsky, he's at Hearn, and within the second month of being there, one of the fellow staff members within the building wrote this letter and nominated him for Staff of the Month. I don't think he won, but it was an honor to be nominated, especially being that new to the building. So I think that's probably the end of the slideshow. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Just wanted to give you guys an update and take an opportunity to again, thank you for your support.
Any questions for Captain Abrams? Go ahead, Squire Blackburn.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say, I see it firsthand every day. And like you said, the progression from the elementary to the middle to the high, there's a connection there, and you all are doing everything right. And it's the teachers love it. We interact with all the SROs at the games, everything you said. It's a huge asset to our community, and I want to thank you for it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Squire Dykes.
You know, I see kids every day that are the kids that you all work with a lot. And I can tell you that a few years ago, when kids would come into me and they'd had contact with an officer, it was horrifying. I mean, they were scared, they were distrustful, I mean, all of those things. And they are not anymore. And so, I mean, I cannot thank you all enough. I mean, I think you're doing something that we won't even understand the benefits of for years to come. But I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I just want to commend you for doing everything you're doing, and having an SRO in every county school in Franklin County means a lot. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. And like everybody says, all my children have come through the system, and they have a repertoire with the SRO. So I think it's a great thing. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks for joining us. And it is the rapport building. A lot of times there aren't good role models maybe available, and now having this role model available and knowing that they're automatically approachable, and I think to your point, we'll see dividends, as Squire Dyke has said. You might not see them right away. You're starting to see that, but the biggest dividends are going to come when they become parents and their children are also able to feel that they can approach folks. So this is it's really great that this court has embraced that and been able to provide the support. You guys are the front line and you're doing it every day, so thank you so much. And thank everyone who's doing
I
it,
certainly
please.
will. I certainly will.
I got a real brief comment or statement, I guess, more than anything else. The job you all do reflects throughout the state, not just Franklin County. Maybe there'll be another county or two fall in line and do the same thing.
I hope so.
All well said.
Might as well.
Go ahead, Squire.
I just want to thank our sheriff too. I mean, you know, your ability to crunch numbers and manipulate budgets made all this possible, and all your staff that are so supportive and go above and beyond your time and hours every week and every month to make sure that you're at all those important events. It is immeasurable. I remember there's always a line that comes back to me from like an old movie that was about these orphans that there's no bad child, right? They're made, they're learned, and the more that they can interject and have role models and people there to show them how to grow up, I mean, that changes the whole world. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say I hope the sheriff doesn't think his budget's getting approved just because you're getting all these compliments right now. He's back there smiling more and more. I know.
I'll defer.
Yeah, but I want to say, I just want to say thank you to this court.
Well, the doctor must.
Because at the end of the day, this court stood behind our sheriff and the school board when we had this discussion many years ago to do this. And I voiced opposition at first because I didn't understand it. But what everybody said here, you know, they're more mentors. These kids need people to look up to. It's relationships. It's exactly what we need to be doing. So on behalf of the fiscal court, I'm proud of Franklin County because I do think we are the only county that has SROs in every school. And kudos to the Sheriff's Department, school board, and to this fiscal court. So thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
All right, maybe
They give you, you know, they've given you the hard task.
I know,
You know what I
exactly. Yeah. Let me start off by just saying thank you all for your kind words and comments. I know for certain they mean a lot to the sheriff, but they also mean a lot to those SROs that are out there, and I'm sure they're listening and they'll hear it. So just thank you for your support. And thank you for understanding what that role really is, because they're doing a great job, and we couldn't have a better person running the show in Captain Abrams and the work that he's doing. So, my name is Dwayne Depp, and I proudly serve as the Chief Deputy for the Sheriff's Office. And my task today is to just give you some information about our own report card, and just reporting to you some things that the Sheriff's Office has done and accomplished throughout 2024. And then we'll go into our annual order and talk about our budget here shortly. We've had a great year. We've had a really good year, probably one of the best years we've had at the Sheriff's Office since Sheriff Quarry's been here. Our first slide that we just want you to know that when we get to talking about funding and all those things, we're not asking Fiscal Court for any additional funds. We feel like that if there's any additional funds that we are needing, we're hoping that we'll be able to get those through our fee services and other things that we do at the Sheriff's Office, and none of the expenditures will have to come from the court. All right, next slide, please. Some community events that we participated in this year, and I'm happy to say that I know the court and members of the court came out to many of those events, and we thank those of you who came out and participated. Our fishing derby, back to school bashes, expo, Charlie's Challenge, and you can see all those different things up there that we participated in. You know, we do this weekly meal delivery. I'm going to highlight that here for just a quick second. Every Friday we go grocery shopping. And we pick out two families, and we go out and we buy $100 worth of groceries to them. And these are usually families that don't have much food, don't have much, and we actually take and deliver those groceries to those two families every single Friday. Thanks to a donation by one of our citizens in Franklin County. That's one of the things that we do every single Friday, and we're happy to have that donor to do that. But you can see the other list of things that we do. We just finished the Cram the Cruiser the other evening. We're ringing the bell at Salvation Army tomorrow. We've got movie night with Frankfort PD coming up in a few days. But those are just a list of a few events that we've done. Next slide, please. Here's some pictures that just to kind of show you some of the things that we've been doing. Our mascot, Frankie, there on the far left with the Sheriff Choir. And you can see several other pictures up there of our staff. I think we have Squire Sebastian up there with our fishing derby. Yeah, when we did our fishing derby. The sheriff with the city police chief Napier. Just a few slides there. The next slide, please. Some more things. We did the Halloween trunk or treat, Easter at Lakeview Park. We do Shop with a Cop every year. That's where we go out and we pool our money together. The deputies do that on their own. They put money together and they go out and they take several kids out and do some Christmas shopping with them so that they can have presents under the tree to open on Christmas morning. Next one, please, sir. Some partnerships that we have, just so you know, we have a full-time grant through the Kentucky Highway Safety. It's 100% furnished. It pays for the complete salary for one of our deputies, and that helps us in our traffic. We have a gentleman on the DEA task force that brings a lot of great resources to us. All our deputies or all our schools are covered with 13 different deputies in the Franklin County school systems. We have one deputy on the TRU team, which is kind of like a special response team. That really helps us out a lot, because when we have those situations out there where we have to call in extra help, the city police comes out. We have some guys that are trained to make that team so that all the city police resources are not being used, and we're using some of ours. The sheriff was reelected to the Kentucky Sheriff's Association Board. We have a member of our staff on the County Board of Elections. We have one on the State 911 Board, and we just started some community gun violence prevention that we'll be talking about here in a little bit, probably in some of the meetings to come. Next slide. Some of our community partners. We are partners with KSU. We go to every single one of their football games. We're participating in everything that they do up there. We use our K-9 from time to time to go up there to help sniff out marijuana or other drugs that might be up there. And we actually, because they're so short-handed, they've reached out to us and asked us to maybe just drive through the campus every now and then so they can see a police car to make sure that everybody's being safe. And those students and parents of those students know that they're being safe. Traditional Bank, Buffalo Trace are also big partners of ours that we spend a lot of time with, and we do some great things with those folks, and they do some great things for us as well. Next slide. some narcotics investigations, through the DEA. We have one of our members on the DEA task force, which is a pretty big thing, and all these things come from the DEA. Some of the things that our task force detective has been working on, and some of the things that they've been able to get off the street. But through their work, we're able to take a lot of illicit drugs off the streets in Franklin County, have positive working relationships. Here's a large amount of fentanyl, a large amount of cocaine that these guys were able to get off our streets to hopefully make our streets a little bit safer. Just more of the same. A lot of money has been seized, and a lot of drugs have been seized through the work that our task force officer has been doing. I wanted you to see that and know that though we don't have a drug detective, our DEA spot, our detective that's doing the DEA work is doing a lot of good work for us here in Franklin County and some of the surrounding counties as well. Next slide. All right, our criminal investigation. So we just promoted a detective a few months ago. Her name is Alicia Barnes. She was actually voted, to tell you the kind of work that she's doing, she was actually voted in as our detective of the year this year, and been on, at least with us, for a very short period of time, was a police officer at the Frankfort PD, and then decided to come over with us. Investigated many cases, including homicides, assaults with serious physical injuries, thefts, sex offender registry violations, and child physical sexual abuse. Right now, our detectives have about 40 different cases open. That's quite a bit. We have 3 detectives. And then we've worked with a lot of other agencies, Knox County. We've worked with the folks out of Tennessee, Sheriff's Office, the Office of the Attorney General, Georgetown Police, KSP. We work with Frankfort constantly. Lieutenant Ron Wyatt, when he came back from the jail, we actually promoted him to lieutenant and put him over our criminal investigations. And he's been doing a great job. Ron's been around for a long time, over 30 years of law enforcement experience, and he's doing a great job for us. Next slide. Just to highlight one of our cases that we worked. This is a gentleman, was a Frankfort resident. He was found guilty of 2 counts of incest, 2 counts of rape in the first degree, and 2 counts of sexual abuse in the first degree. After a 3-day trial, the jury recommended a sentence of 2 life sentences plus 55 years to be served consecutively. So our guys and detectives and our road folks are really concentrating on getting these types of people out of our community to make sure that they're keeping our citizens and our children safe. Next slide. Our fleet, thank you all for everything you've done in helping us with our fleet. By far the best fleet that we've had since we've been here. Everybody's driving a newer car, which means a lot about what we can get accomplished, the safety for our deputies, whether or not we're broken down. If we're broke down, we can't respond to emergency calls. So that's been very good, and we appreciate that. We drove over 800,000 miles in 2024 so far. That's a lot of miles, and I'm happy to report we've only had 2 deer accidents out of that 800,000 miles. That says a lot. You see us a lot of times running lights and siren, signal 9 for us, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour trying to get somewhere. And out of all of that driving, we've only had 2 deer collisions. So we're happy to report our folks appear to be doing all the things that we need them to be doing safely. Recruiting, retention, and professionalism. I think the big thing about this, we're a very diverse agency. We've got 56 total employees there, 10 females, 7 African-American males, and 2 Hispanic males. That makes up our sheriff's office. It's really interesting for us because, we've got a mixture of, I think our youngest deputy right now is 22 or 23 years old. Our oldest deputy is 78, 79 years old. So to hear our conversations around the office, kind of not only the age, but the females, the African Americans, and the Hispanics, we have some really good conversations, and we're able to maybe help each other see a different side that maybe you wouldn't see if everybody looked the same and if everybody was the same. So we're proud that the sheriff has been able to put that together for us. Next slide. The audits, the sheriff has done a great job of doing everything we're supposed to do with audits. I don't think we've had an issue with audits since we've been here. And since taking the office, he's had 9 clean audits, 5 fees and 4 taxes. There was one Attorney General opinion a year or two ago, I think it's been a couple of years ago, about a movie night that we had, and there was some question about, could we do that? Did we spend the money the right way? And we're happy to report that the AG office finally responded with an opinion stating that the use of these funds, that we could use those funds for movie nights and other things, and now some other counties are doing some of the same stuff. So great job of just making sure that we're spending the taxpayers' money the way that we need to be spending the money. Next slide. More about fiscal responsibility. In addition to having clean audit, Sheriff Choir has made sure to control other aspects of the Sheriff's Office financial responsibilities. Think in terms of the state advancement. We get the state advancement. We've been getting that since then. We paid Fiscal Court, I think we made that check today, Amy, is that right? I think that was like $1.5 million or so for our payroll. We got that paid. And we also paid the state advancement today as well. So we have made sure fiscally that we have done all the things that we needed to do and held our commitment to making sure that we're taking care of business the way the citizens need us to. All right. Fee service revenue, just so you know, we have done about 3,006 vehicle inspections. Process serves, those are like summons that we serve, a little over 2,300 of those, and about 470 some CCDWs. People are still coming in to get the carry and concealed deadly weapon. We do all of that processing there. Even though Kentucky's an open carry state, we still have a lot of people that come in and do those and get that paperwork done. Next slide. Tax collection, just so you know, as of 12/11, I guess that was about a month or a week ago, we've collected a little over $42 million already. That's about 86% of the total, which is about 20,000, a little over 20,000 bills that have been collected so far. You think about it, we started collecting on November 1 and we've already collected 86%. That's pretty good. We only have about 3,000 remaining for 2024. And just so you know, the total that we will collect in the end will be around $49,779. $49,779,000 in total taxes that we'll collect for 2024. All right, next slide. Some improvements. Thank you all for your blessing on the improvements that we made at the Sheriff's Office. It makes a huge difference for us to have the working area and the space that we need. I know this garage thing has been kind of going on, and I know it's kind of set idle for a little while. But what we've been able to do, we have a heated and cooled car wash now. So our folks have been using that and pulling their cars in the bay, washing their own cars. I think the jailer has brought some of her vehicles over and used it, and some of the other county officials have actually used that as well. So it's great to have that space in order for us to be able to do that. It's made a huge difference. All the maintenance on our vehicles is performed by an ASE certified mechanic that we've actually hired on part-time. So if things aren't under warranty, we have somebody on staff that can come and take care of our vehicles the way that we need to take care of those vehicles. All right. Here's our new CID rooms. Those are offices. That second picture, there's offices down on the left. We've got 1, 2, I think there's 4 offices down there with a little seating area, which gives us some room for them to have their privacy when they're doing their interviews and other things that they need to take care of. All right, next slide. Court security. So you know we have all the courts. We take care of all the court security. We have 10 full-time staff over there. And just to date, we've had a little over 89,000 people that have walked through that magnetometer there at the courthouse. So if you think about how many people come into the courthouse every single day that we have to provide security for, we've done it. We haven't had any incidents. We haven't had anybody hurt. We haven't had anybody that has needed the services of our law enforcement folks, which is great. But to have nearly 90,000 people to walk through there, and we have to provide security for those folks, that's a whole lot of people. Next slide. Our annual orders. Before I talk about our annual order, I have one other thing I wanted to kind of share with you. I know each one of you magistrates have called us at some point in time about speeders in your neighborhoods and what's happening, what's taking place. I want you all to know that our folks are working diligently when we get those. We do a lot of extra patrols. I think the figure in my head right now, speeding tickets that we've written, and not that we're proud of this, but I just want you to know that we're doing the work. We've written about 1,600 speeding tickets so far this year, or in 2024. That's a whole lot of speeding tickets when you think about it. So when we get those calls, just know that we're going to respond, we're going to come out, we're going to do what we can. But our guys and ladies are working diligently to make sure that we are keeping the roadways as safe as we can. You want me to do the annual order, Sheriff? Have you got it? Okay. You can handle it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. So we put, I'm running out of tricks, so I thought I'd try that. If you do the math on the annual order, we're doing a 3% raise. We had to put a little bit more in because I call them liabilities. We've got several people, if they leave and they're claiming they're gonna retire, they're around 30 to 40 grand, a couple of them in accruals. So that's gonna hurt, so the money has to be budgeted. But that is a 3% cost of living, a little bit of overtime factor, and then all the liabilities we have on accruals. And our operating budget is next. I put in an additional 100,000 like we did last year. We're gonna try to cycle out some of our less than lethal weapons, pepper ball, tasers, and we've got some camera issues in cars that we're gonna try to surplus the ones we have and get a different brand. We're having an issue getting parts and service for them. But I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Alrighty, so I think he just went ahead and jumped down on some of his line items. So does anybody have any questions for the Sheriff's Department tonight? I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you again. I can't thank you guys enough. You know, I mean, this year has been phenomenal. If you think about it, 2024, you all set a record for the Sheriff's Department for the whole state. You know, I mean, Steve Terrell, National Reserve Deputy of the Year. National, think about that. Frankfort, Kentucky. He won a national award. And then this year, Lieutenant Ron Wyatt, Deputy of the Year. Sheriff, you won Sheriff of the Year. First time in the history of that organization that both of the highest two awards one county won. So I think that speaks volumes to what you and your team are doing. So I'd say hats off to you, but you know, I didn't want to make it look like I was working that one, you know?
It's appreciated, and we appreciate you and Jack coming down. I know it was a long, wet night, but you made it, and we appreciated it.
We wouldn't have missed it. As soon as we heard about it, we said we'd be there. So we were honored to be there and support you, and I know the court would have been too if they would have known about it. It was just kind of a last-minute thing, so.
Right, they kind of told us the day before.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we were able to be there. So, any questions for the sheriff? This is his official budget that he's turning in for the next year. Any thoughts from the court?
I got a comment, it has nothing to do with the budget.
You're okay,
I
go ahead,
think it's-
Spartan.
I've read all of that, and I appreciate everything you do, and they said all that. But there's one thing I gotta say now, he talked about 2 deer, he'll get 4 more between now and the first of the year.
I always hate talking about
And
race.
there's nothing wrong with being 78 or 9 years old and working, believe me.
All righty, thank you. Oh, Squire Blackburn.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you and all the deputies. And I think it's a special thing to say that you're not asking for more money this year.
Right, that one slide I always said when I feel better, that one that says, you know, the picture of the money, we're not asking. You know, a lot of this money, you think about the school contracts, 930, AOC reimburses us 15 an hour for all the 10 staff there. And then you got the full-time grant and some DEA funding. So if you took all that out, this would be a lot cheaper. But, you know, other people are helping pay our way. And, you know, we did get a raise on car inspections. They went from 5 to 15. And it's been $5 since I was a deputy back in 2000. So that was a big deal to get that increase.
I just like the efficiency that you have with it and the services that you're offering our community. It's huge. You could just be a fee office and collect taxes, but the community policing and all the things that you go above and beyond, and you know what's in statute is phenomenal for our
I
county.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Sebastian.
No, thank you, Judge. Sheriff, as always, thank you. Thank you guys for being with us today. And I will say from where we started when we all came in 6 years ago, with the fleet that you were given and the way the court has tried to assist in bringing that fleet up to standard, it's taken us quite a while. But you have really taken the bull by the horns on that and been very proactive in cycling vehicles out, getting newer vehicles in, vehicles that can handle the terrain here in Franklin County, which is what we needed, because you cited that as one of the issues of kind of the level of the fleet when you inherited it. So that has been tremendous. Cycling in electric vehicles there at the schools, us being able to provide the funds to put those there. I mean, it's been a wonderful collaborative process, and I think this court looks forward to more of that forward thinking that you've been able to bring to the table and from this side as well. So thank you all very much. And everybody that's not with us, please thank them, because we don't see them as much as we get to see you, but they are just as vitally important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Squire Sebastian. Squire Wiseman, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, Chris, you don't give me much to, go after in your budget, unfortunately, so thank you. But I just wanted to say thank you specifically. I hadn't got to yet, you and the whole staff, the recent murder. In my district, I had folks that were scared for weeks to go out of their home, but the presence and the information that was put out as quick as it could be, and some of the post-presence has been helpful for a lot of folks that are still somewhat traumatized, and so I wanted to thank you for that. And just in terms of budget, I'm kind of anxious and excited to see where some similarities and things can be overlapped with the new road department that might even help with the budget even more with hopefully mechanic and things that's going to be on staff there. So hopefully we'll see some benefit even more. And I think we need to start a fund for some Spurs, buddy.
Okay, we'll talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty, next, I'm going to invite Duke up. Good evening, Duke. How are you doing?
Good evening, I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Roses and rainbows, baby, every day.
I'd just like to update the court on what the road crews have been doing the last couple of weeks. Today actually ended our leaf pickup. We'll probably wait a week or so and then go out and just do some cleanup, because we've already had a couple calls this afternoon on some leaves. A little late getting out, but they'll be fine. Have a regular culvert crew out when we can, just installing new culverts and replacing old ones as usual. We're trying to do some tree trimming during the worst of the weather when we can get out and do that. We had one employee completed his CDL training yesterday, so that'll be a big help for us. Also, I'd like to thank our jailer and the staff there. We were actually in the market for a forklift for our new facility, and lucky enough, she had a forklift there that they weren't using, and worked out a deal and was able to get that, so turned out real good. As far as our new building, I think we may have some photos. I don't know if he got them up or not. Yeah, there we go. As you can see, we got power and we've got a set of steps. So actually got heat on in the building now, so as of this morning, once it gets, yeah, there's our vehicle storage building. You can see how bright it was about 6:30 this morning. It's lit up very well.
Duke, I thought you would have started off with a picture of that 400 amp break box we've been waiting a year for.
Yeah, that thing was something else. But it's here now and it's working, so that's a big plus. We can move forward. I think hopefully now, talking to Kevin, we may be just a couple weeks out from moving in there. Actually, the guys have been, as you can see in that one picture, we put up some new shelving and starting to move some stuff out of the old building, and that's a chore. I don't know, maybe 75 years of stuff they're having to go through, you know, and a lot of it's old, outdated stuff that were, you know, just unusable, but we'll put that surplus auction in. And so we're trying to get everything moved a little bit at a time, so we're not rushing to when we do get our CO for the building. The guys are starting to get a little excited, I think, you know. It's going to be a good day.
All right, Squire Sebastian.
Thanks, Judge. I just wanted to make a comment of how nice it was to see water on the outside of the building and not on the inside where the staff was working,
Right?
laying in a puddle of water and having to move electric equipment so it wouldn't, you know, be destroyed. So, hats off.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see the smiles on everybody's face.
I don't know, you know, what Travis thinks, but I mean, it's going to be a huge change for him.
It sure is.
But this court should be proud. You know, this is the first big project like this that's been done in Franklin County in a long, long time, and it's well overdue. Like Squire Sebastian said, they were working out of a garage that was 1958, I think. And if OSHA would have walked in there, I guarantee they'd shut it down today. So we should all be proud of what we built there. And I think timeline, we had a road meeting the other day. He's still hopeful, I think, kind of end of the year, first week, you all can move in there potentially. And I know they're working, they just have to skin that other building and do some stuff. But I know per contract, we looked it up, I think middle of February, but he thinks they'll be done well before then, complete. So, other than some punch list stuff, but yeah, it's coming along, so. Any other questions for Duke while he's here? Duke, please tell the guys thank you. I know this time of year can get a little wonky. You know, you get holidays, you get a little snow, you get a little salting. It's not easy, but they have some good equipment, and there's a lot of good guys down there. So please tell them we said thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Alrighty, next I'm gonna go ahead and run to my judge's report. Been pretty busy. On the 12th, I ended up on a call with Homeland Security. It was really about the oddest thing ever. I got a message 5 minutes before to be on a Zoom call. Never happened. So I got on there and they were waiting on me. They apologized for sending it out. But long story short, we have an additional $47,400 that's available for the clerk's portable communication cases. Has to do with the voting. I guess if things go down, that they can still keep areas up voting, things like that. So it's a great thing. It took me a little bit to figure out what they were talking about, but we finally got there. But very, very happy about that. That evening, I went to, there's a new Recovery Cafe in Frankfort, Church of the Ascension on Washington Street. They're out of Lexington. It's a great group of people. It's just another area for people to go to get help and kind of wrap around services and things like that. And I know there's a lot of good people there that are doing similar things, so hopefully they can fit in with everyone. On the 14th, actually attended a really cool thing at Wanda Joyce with one of our mentees. They had stations set up so kids could make Christmas presents for anybody they wanted. So it was really nice. It was 2 hours. They provided food for all the kids and the sponsors. It was a really well done event. After that, I went to a really interesting housing study that I believe Focus on Race, it was, can't remember who put it on. Anyways.
Together Frankfurt.
Together Frankfurt, thank you, Squire. So I just asked Jenny to pull a couple of highlights out, and I thought this was really interesting, and I wanted the court to see this. So the Housing Authority out of Lexington did a study of the whole state. That was very interesting, very detailed. The director herself came. She was very energetic. She could answer anything. It was almost a 2-hour deal that she did. But this is just in Franklin County. Currently, it says that we're 4,457 units under. By 29, you can see it's 4,432. Andrew, next slide. So what I found really interesting was they dug a little bit deeper. And I know because this court has been, a lot of focus on P&Z and different things and zoning, but that shows you right there about rentals for sale. So they have it broke down. I believe they said the median income in Franklin County currently is about $58,000. So all those statistics there. And the lady was very thorough in saying, we need all housing. We need affordable housing. I think every community, probably North America does, but that's highly, because everyone's living not where they should because things aren't available. So she even got into custom homes, how many should be built, smaller homes. And I thought it was really interesting. She asked the crowd of about 30, 35 people, why don't we think there's people building subdivisions anymore? And I'm kind of in the building industry in my past life, and I said, why? She said, because it takes so long. By the time you put streets, roads, infrastructure, it could be 3 years before you're building a home. And so how many people want to pay on a loan for 3 years before you can start to get any money back? So she said there's a movement right now with the legislators to try to incentivize builders to build, things like that. So I thought it was very interesting because then she referenced someone can build a custom home in, 8 months and get their money. So I just thought that was interesting. I thought I'd like to show that to you all, just because we've been tasked with a lot of planning and zoning things this last year especially. So already, we also had a strategic planning committee. Most of our committee meetings, what we're going to start doing now, and Jenny's really helping us get organized, we're going to go ahead and get those sent out at the beginning of the year. So any meetings, we're going to try to, some committees meet monthly, some meet quarterly, so we're going to try to get all those. I know you all have talked to her as far as times that are better and worse and things like that, so we're trying to accommodate as best as we can. I had a meeting with Forks of Elkhorn about the sewer extension. We're still working that. We actually met with the sewer department. They had some good suggestions, things like that, so I think we're getting a little bit closer to that project. The juvenile violence discussion, I think Deputy Depp hit on a little bit. The other day I had a meeting with Officer Willis and Ashley and Max Comley, and it's been brought to my attention that there is a big problem with guns in school now. Kids with guns. I think just 2 weeks ago there was a juvenile that was shot and killed by his friend with a gun accident. We're not talking small guns, these are big guns, like what the Sheriff's Department carries. So we're looking at how we can help with that. Max is kind of leading that. You want to say anything on that, Max, while I'm going, or did I cover it okay? Yeah, so anyway, so that was a good meeting, but kind of disturbing too, because I didn't realize that was such a problem. Went to a Jingle and Mingle holiday reception in Lexington, just benefiting the Hope Lodge and Cancer Center. That was very nice. Went to a Bluegrass ad. Yesterday we had an executive board meeting, went over some things, talked about how well, again, I'm very proud of our aging center out there. I know Sherry Sebastian does a lot out there, but just how we compare to most of the state and region, so that was all good. Want to hit a little bit about the Salvation Angel Tree program, because I want you all to know that, and I didn't want to announce this before, they called about a month ago and they had no facility to store all of their gifts and where they give them out. We were fortunate enough, and Deputy Kennedy kind of worked on this, that we realized we still had the clubhouse at Duckers. So we didn't want to announce it before because we didn't obviously want anybody breaking into the facility, but I was able to go by there yesterday and you should have seen all the stuff. I mean, it was amazing how many gifts they gave away, bikes and bags of stuff, and people came together and wrapped it, and they had a drive-through set up, and they said at one point in the morning they were backed up to Leestown Road. That's how many people came to get gifts for their children this year. So I was very happy that the Fiscal Court could provide that space for them. Don't know if we'll be there next year, but if not, I told them we would all work together to try to figure where they could have a home for next year. They're doing big things. Another thing that we decided, and I believe yesterday, Jenny delivered for us. So as you all know, we do weddings here. I think it's weird that it's legally my money, which I don't understand why. So we keep it as a fund. I know Judge Wells bought gifts some years for kids. Last year we went shopping for Wanda Joy's kids. This year we changed it up a little bit, and we basically had $400, and so we went and bought $10 Kroger cards, and we donated it to the Capital City Activity Center because there's a big need for people even to have fuel to get to the activity center and things like that. So I was proud to be able to do that for the community. Next one, and Charlie's probably going to stand up and jump up and down, but we got the new greens mower in. So Charlie sent that to me the other day. He's been working on that for a while, so I said, send us a picture. Let's talk about it a little bit. So there's our new greens mower, so I know we're excited about that. Last but not least, I had another cannabis task force meeting today. I am on there as the governor's person, and it was interesting. They went all through how the state lotteries went. They let the Kentucky Lottery do it. We ended up getting, we don't know if it's coming Franklin County or Frankfort. We had a company out of Lexington who won the lottery for a dispensary here. We also have one or two growers that are looking at pieces of property here that would employ about 60 people. So still early stages, but I just wanted to report to you all. I know Autumn and Ben and the city have been working on guidelines and planning and zoning things, where they can go and where they can't go. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know it's out there and it's happening, and I just want to kind of lay it out to the court. That's what I know about it. So, but I will say it's a very well-run program. I have nothing but respect for Sam Flynn and Team Kentucky that has really gone through and checked everything. So I think it's going to be a good program. And they said as of right now, I forgot the piece of paper, I think there's 2,000 people who have applied for medical cards. Most of them are cancer, PTSD, and MS, believe it or not. So there's about 300 doctors who have already applied to be able to prescribe, which is more than Mississippi and other states that even have been up for a couple years. So I think there's a big need in our community, but I don't know where everybody stands on that, but I'm just telling you where I am. So that's where we are on the judge's report. Let's go ahead and jump down to the minutes from the regular meeting of December 11th, 2024. Any comments on the minutes? Alrighty. Seeing none, well, I guess these next couple, Sheriff has already addressed. So we will jump to Ally. Well, does anybody have any thoughts? Sheriff just walked in. Any other thoughts? I know he kind of went over these. Is anything anybody needs to talk or ask since they're still here? Or Sheriff, is anything you want to add?
I just had noticed that the state advancement was on there. And
Okay.
I don't think we really talked about it, but it's our interest-free money to get us through when we start out with no money, basically. So it's a good deal.
Same as last year?
Yeah, 400,000, and we just actually paid it back today, whatever we still owed them, so.
Okay. Perfect. Any questions while they're still here?
I have one question about that. I could ask, I guess, somebody else, but the advancement, do they charge interest on that, or is it dollar for dollar?
It's, the state actually gives it to us. You draw 60,000 a month, in the beginning of the year, and then the last payment, I think October, it's 40,000. So no, they don't charge us anything.
Alrighty. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, next I believe Ally, there she is. Good evening, Ally, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good evening, members of the court. Today I'm asking for authorization to use the remaining $8,277 for a spring household hazardous waste event. We're looking at April 19th. I want to draw your attention to the financial impact portion of the abstract. There's an error on my part. So the county was awarded $22,000, that it was actually $21,000. I requested $22,000, and then they knocked some of the funding off of ads. So for a total of 21, the rest of the numbers on this page are correct. And so we spent $12,722.93 total during the fall event on cleanup and some ads, and we have $8,277.7 remaining for the spring. So let me know if you have any questions on that.
Well, they're thinking, Ally, I just want to publicly congratulate you. Ally went to Hawaii and ran her first marathon, and she did it in 4 hours, 44 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yep.
that. So that's a big deal. For anybody who's even thought about that, like I never have, but I know it's a big deal. So congratulations.
Thank you. Y'all have been so sweet about that. It's
Yep.
funny.
Bar Wisman, did you have something?
I just wanted to thank Ally for taking some input when we met with our new hauling contractors. One of their comments was, everybody does hazardous waste in the fall. Like, nobody does several of the cleanup things in the springtime when people are most logically getting started for the year. So I expect this is going to be well received, and I wonder if, as we work through it, if maybe we need to think about some even bigger resources that we need to contribute to successful. So just, I'm willing to have that conversation if it needs to be.
Okay.
All righty. Ally, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll submit an amended resolution with the correct number to
Okay.
him.
That was the only change of 22 to 21? Okay, so we'll do that in the voting. Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you guys.
All righty, next I believe Autumn is with us. Good evening, Autumn. How are you?
Doing well. All right, this evening I have got for you 2 easements. The plant board, as you know, is working on expanding broadband throughout the community. So they've been working with the fire chief on placement of some cabinets for broadband equipment and maintenance. So they're looking at the Bald Knob and Owenton Road fire stations. They do have overhead utilities on both of those properties, but they're looking to establish permanent utility easements for these broadband boxes. Happy to answer any questions if I can.
Any questions for Autumn on these easements? Squire Whitson.
Autumn, do you have a time frame? I mean, it's probably, I'm assuming this is going to be concurrent with the internet improvements throughout the county that were probably a year or more
Right,
before these, but they're wanting the easements concurrently. I'm just, I'm thinking, we had some conversations with Plant Board about creating hubs, right, where internet service would be in case of emergencies at some of our rural areas, but I'm also in my mind thinking about the proposed additions and some of the improvements I'd like to do to those couple of rural fire stations. So I suppose it's just more of a comment that we may need to come back and look at the easements subject to those plans
Sure.
in the near future. Hopefully, maybe we need to start looking at those plans that I've been asking about. And we had a great meeting, myself and some other folks with the USDA the other day, that I think we found a funding avenue that might be appropriate for the community center additions that I want to make for voting centers to the Bald Knob Fire Department at least, and maybe one of the others. So, just commentary. Thank you.
Squire Tanner.
Question for you or the chief, is that going to be any way affected, the fire department, those locations?
No, I actually met with plant board staff on site, both locations. They're right in the overhead easement. The one in Bald Knob actually kind of is going to sit over the hill in an area we don't use at all. And the one fire station, 7 out on Owenton Road, I mean, it's right there next to a telephone pole. It's close to guy wires, so there's nothing that we would use that area for. So.
Any other question for Autumn on this? All right, Autumn, thank you. Alrighty, so next is why a lot of people are here and a lot of people spoke tonight. So let's just jump into it. First, before I start, I want to say I'm super excited. I think this is a pivotal time in Franklin County to make a difference that has really never been seen in this community. You know, I have a little chart here. You know, I think in January in 21, we put the RFP out. We signed it, you know, the contract on May 13th of 21, and the big public open house at the park on July 7th, 21. Master plan presentation, and then sports commission agreement was signed on August 26, 2022. So it goes on and on. You know, on the 17th, we had meetings with, you know, the chamber. Most of the people in this room actually are on this list, you know. Robin, Mark, Nathan's wife, they were all at a meeting to talk about what this looks like. You know, we have had meetings since. So just want to kind of throw that out there. But I also want to say I want to thank everybody. You know, yesterday Susie called me, Tish called me, Mr. Feldman. I mean, people have called to ask questions. Robin, we've met multiple times. So we're all trying to kind of just navigate these waters together. I will say, and Bill Call, I appreciate you. You know, Bill called Jack on Tuesday and he said, I have some questions and clarifications, legalities. So we set up a call with Eddie Jones, our attorney, the next day at 9 a.m. Went through them. After that, as I promised, we had a meeting with our treasurer and occupational tax person. And we talked through it. We talked through mainly about how it was going to be collected. So for anybody who doesn't realize, and I remember having this conversation with Robin a couple years ago, this community is one of the only ones that collects and distributes the tax quarterly. Everyone else does it monthly. And if you all remember, we've talked about that. So when Mr. Cole came the other day, he had reminded us that the city does it quarterly also. And so we've been in communication with the city. I know Andrew Hartley, the assistant over there, I have dates. He and Eddie met July 25th of this year to go over the contract. August 1st, November 20th to finalize what we are looking at tonight, so everybody's in agreement of what's going on. So I'm going to ask the court at this time to make a change. So this is what we're dealing with tonight will not go in effect until July 1, 2025. That will give everybody time. So our treasurer recommended that, and then when we talked to Summer, our occupational tax person, she said, you know, the way everything's, sooner or later, you're going to have to make the transition. You know, Mark, you made a comment, people might have stuff booked. I think that's going to happen. We're going to have to grandfather those in. But 6 months from now is less likely to have that much of an impact. So that will give us time. If you all remember, we still have 2 documents that we have. We have an MOA, you know, that will deal with the city, and there's one other one, interlocal. So I just kind of want to throw that out there. So in this document, we will do it effective July 1, 2025. Other than that, I guess we can open up for discussion. I think this is an amazing time for Franklin County. And go ahead, Squire Witzman. Oh, I'm sorry. Squire Beckes.
That's what Kelly first.
I've talked to a lot of people in the last week about this, a lot. And I understand their concerns. And I think there are some really good things that could come out of this, but personally, I feel like I don't know enough about how tourism, the current tourism commission is going to be made whole.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to happen? Do we have a plan for that? Because if we do, I don't know it. So
So we've had meetings with the city. Eddie's kind of facilitated some of them. The timeline we've talked about is 2 to 3 years that we would make it whole. So legally, one of the conversations we had the other day in the meeting was the 2% that goes to Save the Grand will stay the same. The additional 1% will be pledged to the city to go towards a convention center. Okay, and then the additional 3% that goes to the Sports Commission, whatever needs to be pulled out of that to make tourism whole is what we are going to do. So I think that's been the biggest concern. And then the other concern is, you know, does that mean that tourism is only doing the city things now? No, they will continue to do city and county, no different than hopefully the sports management company that we hire will help fill the city fields too as they are doing the tournaments and things like that. So does that answer?
yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not, people aren't losing their jobs
No,
because we're not,
no.
we don't have enough money in this.
Right.
These are the things that I've been asking, so I'm going to ask them on
Yeah.
camera so people can hear the
Absolutely.
answers to
Yeah.
them.
No.
Because I think that it's been nerve-wracking
Yeah.
for some people, and it's been confusing. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
confusing for me sitting here, it has to be confusing for
And
the
those next
community.
2 documents will cover all of that.
Okay.
And so I think, as we proceed, then we can have meetings, whoever wants to come to talk about it, but that's how we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Squire Wisdom, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, Judge, with all respect, I realize there's been a lot of conversations going on, but those haven't been within this body. And ultimately, this body makes the decisions and directs every single one of those decisions. And unfortunately, I just don't feel informed enough to make any action right now. As we discussed last week, a July 1st start date gives us a good opportunity to have a community conversation. I feel like elements of this could be good and beneficial to the community. I also feel like we've kind of missed the conversation entirely with the existing entity that could do all of this without creating a separate entity of another board, that we could have these conversations. Additional tax revenues could be levied on the hotels, and we can leave things in place to move forward with some of these ideas. I don't like the idea of creating more redundancy in the community than needs to be when all of these things are working together ideally. and I'm still not fully there on what this entity will do. You know, we all probably have a different definition of what we think this one's going to do, and we talked about that last week, making sure that sports isn't just an item in our community that is maybe something that's missing right now, and we're throwing away all of the tourism benefits that we have and the natural landscape and all of the momentum that's been building around the industry of tourism in our community the last few years, you know, sort of absent the convention centers. So I guess my question is, the conversations that you've had, or maybe the Parks Committee have had, and especially those that have happened since last week, can you relate as much of that as you can to us about how this is, or how you envision this working, or maybe Jack or whoever can inform us? I need to know every detail here.
Yeah, and
because
I'm
I need
happy.
to be able to respond.
You and I have talked about getting together, but typically
Yeah.
we talk about water projects and things like that. So, I mean, I'm an open book. You know, most of the people here come and talk to me and ask questions, and I'm happy to tell you anything we know. And some of us have even, some people have had separate calls even with the attorney to understand it. So, you know, but I think as far as once we collect this other tax, there's statutes put in place by KRS of how things have to be done. And I know we got information last time we all met as far as how the board's made up. I think there's 3 representatives from the hotel industry, 2 are appointed by myself, and then I think the chamber, and there's 1 other. So that's all per KRS. There's really not a whole lot of leeway how that works. So, but you're absolutely right. I mean, sports is more than just you know, baseball or soccer. You know, it could be any outdoor sport. So really, it will come to the board that is created, what their vision is, which way they want to go. I'll be quite honest. I know we need soccer fields. I went and looked at some land today. We need soccer fields. So, I mean, this is a whole big thing, and I know change is a little different and scary at times, but I think everyone on this court can agree that what we're trying to do every time we meet in this meeting is to benefit the community first and foremost, our constituents. And so I don't think anybody would ever want to try to do anything that caused any harm or ill. And so, you know, I'm going to stop rambling. Go ahead, Squire. Here.
I just prepared a little something that you know, came across my mind, and I had to write it down. So, as a Franklin County resident and father of 5 children that have all participated, and one that currently participates in travel sports, I've seen firsthand the positive impact sports tourism has for communities. E-Town being the flagship or role model for other communities in Kentucky to look up to. You don't have to take my word for it, just do the research on the subject. We all know in order for this community to be successful, we have to have professionals in place that are wanting and willing to work together in the best interest of the entire community. The Sports Commission allows that to happen. There will be a professional firm that focuses on recruiting tournaments and other events in our town that will help fill our local hotels, restaurants, and that will also be buying gas and snacks from our stores. That in return equals generated revenue. It will also allow the tourism director and specifically focus on Franklin County tourism, promote all of Frankfort and Franklin County businesses equally. There are 3 campgrounds in District 4. They're on the website, but you know, I've never seen or heard them advertised as much or more as other businesses are. You know, things need to be done equally. So I often wonder why we're working so hard to attract people to Frankfort and then advertise, encourage them to go to surrounding counties to spend their money. It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not a tourism professional, and that's an example of why it's imperative we create a sports commission and bring a professional entity to sell and recruit our soon-to-be state-of-the-art sports park. That's my feelings on it.
Yeah. And I went back and looked, because I had a conversation this morning, and it's like, you know, tell me about the money. Tell me about the money. So I'm going to base this on. So here's what's been on our website for a couple of years, and even in that book right there, it states that we should do a sports commission. It's recommended in order to do this. The projected money, because I believe right now at 2% what we support the arts generates about $400,000. So what we're talking about is roughly about $600,000 a year, as is currently right now with the hotel that we have. So when I reached out to an organization, I said, can you run me some rough numbers if we were to build, and I know we're not talking about the sports complex right now, but if we were to build that 7 softball complex, what it would generate? And their answer to me was $12 million a year for economic development between your hotels, your shops, your stores, everything. So for me, it's a big deal. This is a big deal. It's new to everybody, but I'm appreciative of Robin's openness to talk, Mr. Coles, because I think spreading this out for another 6 months, we can all work together to do the third and fourth document to make sure we get it right. And I think it's an exciting time. Do you ever get somebody have a hand up?
To make sure that I understood,
Yep.
I feel a little unclear. Does that mean, I understand the change and I like the change. I'm glad that it's July. That makes me happy. But are we still expected to make this decision tonight?
I personally would like to, because we're still heading in the right direction. We have 2 more steps that we're gonna need to do in addition to.
I guess I don't understand why it needs to go so fast. I mean, I know it doesn't feel fast to you all because you've been working on it forever. It feels fast to me because I have not.
Right.
Does that, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like there are just so many things that I just need to know more about. And my constituents have said, I want to know more. I don't understand what's happening here or why it's happening so quickly. And so I'm saying this for them,
Yeah.
mostly, because I don't vote for myself.
Right.
I vote for them. So I just want to throw that out
Yeah.
there. It's something to think about, and I think what we have been asked, to just slow it down a little bit, I guess I don't understand why that's not the way to go.
Okay. Understandable. You know, for me, it's on it tonight. We're not gonna act on it for 6 months, and we have 6 months to meet with everybody, to work the details out, to create the group and things like that. Spark Blackburn, do you have your hand up? I'm sorry, I couldn't tell.
I understand, I feel like several people have said it's been working fast, but as we are different individuals, we focus on different things. This has been a focus of mine for a long time. I know in December of '21, we had our master parks plan completed and it was unveiled to the public in January of '22. And it was unfortunate at that time. The presentation changed at the last minute. 6 slides were shown, and it was a train wreck. The presentation was, not the plan. The plan was put forth by the consultants we chose. 85% of the plans that they create have been built and have fleshed out and have been profitable and have bettered the communities that they've been built in. I've been to Indianapolis, I've been to E-Town, I've been to Bowling Green, I've been to all these places. Mr. Deppenbrock mentioned that we've got 5 within 50 miles, not with what we're trying to do. The closest one's in McCracken County, it's 70 miles away. The impact that it has on the community isn't just for sports. It's a narrow focus to say that this is all for sports. It's not. It's an avenue. It's a market we haven't tapped, ever, at all. And you touched on it when you said that they stop in our shops, our restaurants, our stores. You know, I've done it. It's a $1,000 weekend. And when you're going every single weekend spending $1,000, we make those, the people that can make those sacrifices for the kids, and they're going to come and do it here. They're not going to just, they're going to stay in city hotels. They're going to stay in county hotels. They're going to stay anywhere they can stay. They're going to stay in the B&Bs. I've stayed at all of those different things in different communities throughout the state and out of state. And this is not something that's been thought upon lightly. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. This has been fleshed out by other communities. Eddie Jones has done a tremendous job in McCracken County in helping, you know, form their ordinances and craft the legalities of it all. And I think we were smart for bringing him in and helping us, because why not pick somebody that's been there and done it and it's being successful? I know when he spoke the other night, he said they had like $2 million in the fund. That isn't how much it's created. That's how much is left over after the millions of dollars that they've spent. I think they're bringing in around $81,000 a month just in the sports tourism from their hotel tax. And they've built multiple hotels after this has happened. It brings in business. It brings in people. And the people that pay for it aren't us. It's not our community. There are going to be some stages, or in the early stages, that we're going to have to pay, and we're going to have to make it right. But we're not going to nickel and dime it. If, in my mind, if it's not going to be all the way, I don't want to do it at all, because that's not the way these things are successful. So I know some people may have some trepidation about voting on it tonight, and I don't know if I can help you in easing that anxiety, but you know, this is something that's been in the works on paper for over 2 years, and we're just following that plan. You know, I was elected to do that, and I hear from folks on both sides of it, but overwhelmingly the people that contact me the most are, let's make this happen. I think the fears of folks saying that we're going to pull away from tourism, it's going to bolster tourism. Hopefully you're going to have tourism dollars available to you to spend that you never even imagined. Not from folks coming to Buffalo Trace who doesn't need our tourism dollars and folks like that. We've got 11, I think, major attractions here in Frankfort. Is that about right?
In the county.
In the county.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's important that we try to bring money towards all of them. But I think this is one more tool we put in our box that helps us make everything more whole. And it greases the wheels for prosperity and help things happen. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks, Carter.
I also want to say it's going to bring a diverse group of people to Franklin County. When we go to different places and play ball, they want to have, the team eat together, the team go to a show together, the team go to kayaking. You know, it's a team building experience. It's not just for playing ball. You know, it's going to bring the whole idea to Franklin County. And like I said, I've traveled it for years. I've done it for years. I've spent a ton of money in every other town in this state and other states. It's something to me that will help out Frankfort and Franklin County for years to come. This isn't just a off-the-cuff thing. A lot of places have been doing it for years and are successful. I know change is different for people, and a lot of people don't understand change. But at some point, Franklin County is going to have to make a change if we don't want to keep progressing into the hole that we're going in. I think it's a positive idea. Just my opinion.
Squire Tanner.
I have a question about point of order here, and not here, but if this were to pass tonight, can we, in conjunction with that, pass a simple resolution saying that we will review the progress of keeping everybody whole in the complaints they had in 120 days, 4 months?
We've got to July, so is that?
Yeah,
Well,
we
that's
still have to
before it
July,
goes
so
into
nothing
effect.
changes until
If we
July.
move that to July, this gives us time to make sure everybody's taken care of before it goes into effect, July the 1st.
And we still have 2 more documents that'll have to come in front of the court as far
Well,
as
we got to give us
interlocal
time.
and
If we
MOA.
review that, 120
Yeah.
days now, that should give everybody peace of mind, and we're
Yeah.
gonna get it all done before July.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Can we do that? Simple resolution?
I don't know why you couldn't. Have that simple resolution, now it's gonna, there's no reason why you couldn't as far as a point of order.
And we'll have to have those documents done anyways for it to even take effect
Well,
regardless.
it'd just be to review make sure we got the documents in place and tourism's held whole and a lot of other things coming through it before it goes into effect, because we are gonna have to move it to July. They could have never got the tax collected by January the 1st anyway.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at it, and I would do that at the end of this, ask for it to be, we can do that in other business, I think.
Are you talking about crafting an on-the-fly resolution over at least 3 points that you just stated right there?
Do what? Excuse me?
You just talked of at least 2 or 3 points that you want to set forth in a resolution that you want to draft on the fly as we're sitting here tonight?
Well, I don't know how complete you could ever be in a simple resolution, except the thing I'd want in a simple resolution is we just review the progress made towards the ordinance.
Progress made towards the ordinance or
Towards
the other 2 documents that were discussed the last time we were at a meeting? Because these are 2 ordinances that are going into place that will also need 2 documents, according to the attorney who spoke the last time, is an interlocal agreement and a memorandum of understanding between.
Well, there's several things that need to be done, as you've just pointed out.
Right, and so I think what you were talking about though is a resolution, and you said at least 2 or 3 points, I don't recall them right now, but at least 2 or 3 points in there that you wanted those resolutions to. Did you write those down? Like I said, you're talking about crafting a resolution as we sit here on the fly.
Well, it may be too complicated. I just want a simple resolution, but if it needs to include all of those points, then my suggestion or motion at the end would be that we draft a resolution that would incorporate those points that you mentioned. Within 120 days, we review that.
I guess I'm a little confused because we still have 2 more documents to pass, or this doesn't really mean much.
Means nothing.
Yeah, so I mean, it really means nothing until we finish it.
This is to continue
Well, what we would be, and I'm not against this resolution, I'm not against this ordinance, but I just want everybody to be comfortable. It's gonna, all those hoops that we've got to jump through between now and 6 months, done, as we've committed to verbally.
Squire Sebastian?
So I'm going to follow up on
Yep.
Squire Tanner's point. So could we, based on what our attorney has, what counsel's telling us, could we make a point of each month, the end of January, in other business or putting an agenda item on to talk about what you're saying right now? What has progressed so that we know where we are in the process? Because I'm hearing some of the newer squires who are sitting here saying, I'm not as well versed, I haven't lived with this as long as some of the other members of the court. We want to be able to field calls from your constituents because I'm fielding them, I'm trying to meet with people to understand everything in the round. People who've been in meetings, people who haven't been in meetings for a while, Squire Tanner's point is valid. Everyone wants to understand the progress that is being made so that we can make sure that all the things we're saying tonight, we're hitting those markers. So is there a way to do that either through a report to the body, just to make sure that that is happening? I'm trying to figure out the way to make that happen.
But do you think there needs to be
To
a
his-
resolution, or can I
to
just
his
say that
point.
we'll put it in the minutes and then that
I'm just saying
we'll
if
have it
it's-
scheduled?
Well,
Because we need to have a
either
meeting
way, it's-
together to talk about.
That's the
the
reason I
next-
said simple resolution. I don't want to make it overcomplicated, and maybe we got
I'm with you on
overcomplicated, but we need to make sure there's a report given to this body of where we are in the progress of a July the 1st date that we're going to pass, if it passes.
And I want to make sure that it isn't just for this body, that our community hears and sees it, because many people are feeling uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and I'm not comfortable if they're not comfortable.
That's
So
fine.
I don't want it just to be with us. I want everybody to understand what's happening and how it's happening. I think people will be more on board when they get the full picture.
I'm fine. So
That's my hope.
what if we go ahead and figure doing a town hall with the court next month?
Well, go on.
I just wanted to say, I think moving into July, we've had, thoughts about tabling, thoughts about, that gives everybody 6 months to get on board or, figure out which direction we need to go to make sure everything is complete and whole for everybody. Like I said, in my mind, creating this is not to take away from anybody else. It is to help and promote this county. I don't want to see anybody lose anything because we're trying to do something new for the county. It's my last thought. I don't want to see that. I live here. I want to be able to go do things elsewhere. And when I go someplace, I look to do things elsewhere than what I'm doing. That's what this is about, in my mind. But back to my original, I'm glad we're moving it to July to give 6 months for everybody to investigate and see where they're at with their thoughts on this. But this is just the first phase of the next 2 phases, is what I think we need to understand.
Well, I think Squire.
Yeah, Judge, I want to get back to some technical questions here. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of feel-good generalities, right? Great. We've had those conversations. We all want to do something good for the community. But that doesn't answer the technical questions I've got about how this is going to work. And at the moment, well, let me just back up real quick and say, 4 of us have only been at this table for the last 2 years. These conversations predate. We've never had a single formal conversation about this park, about the improvements, the plans, any technical reports.
all the time, and they're open, Squire. My door is always open, and I'm not going to
Judge,
sit here and get in an
let me,
argument with you.
it is not just me. I'm saying the community. When I represent myself, as I have questions, the entire community has questions. It's not about me coming to you and asking these things. We've got to put more out in the public realm so that everyone understands this. There's no reason that anybody should take time out of their day to have to show up tonight to find out information that should have been on the table for the last 6 months for us to consider something. These documents were popped in here, and 4 of us had never seen them before, or I'm assuming.
We've been meeting about these documents.
No, I only found out about the sports tourism thing by bumping into the attorney at a conference in Louisville months ago.
Have you not read the park plan?
I've read the park plan, Judge. This is totally different. Judge, this is about keeping our public informed. Let me remind everybody that we are their representatives. Every single thing we do, every meeting we have, every committee meeting, every special meeting, every committee of the whole, whatever the hell you want to call it, is doing the public's business.
Yep.
And if I have questions, if members of this court have questions, I'm certain that the public doesn't know the nth degree of what we're trying to digest. So let me step back to say, all I'm hearing in any regard is if we don't take other steps following this, that this is useless. So there doesn't seem to be any argument that we need to pass these 2 ordinances tonight. And I'm of the opinion that we table this entirely. We all agree that we want to progress with this, which should have been the conversation at the beginning. This court should have came to an agreement with the new members that we want to move in this direction or consider it and have it brought back to us. But let's table this until May. Let's progress with conversations with everybody that's affected, the community at large. Let's have the town hall. Let's have broader conversations about how this could work technically in other forms if there is a advantageous, need to do that. And then let's move forward once we have those things fleshed out. Because right now what I'm hearing and what the community's hearing is we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're adding a new tax. I'm saying generalities, JW, that this is the conversations that I'm getting, that we're going to cut tourism in half. We're creating a redundant agency, and these are the feedback that I'm getting from the broader community. We need to be able to inform the citizens that that is or is not the case. I can't balance or fairly state either one because I just don't have the information. This is all I have, these 2 documents about how this is going to work, whatever the conversations have been. I'm told that the city is not contributing or generally are not going to contribute another dollar to tourism. So what we are is taking away a part of the current tourism's budget, and we're kind of leaning into our most profitable tourism years so far. I want to make sure that whatever we do isn't going to hurt, that end of things, that we're not diminishing the returns on investment in tourism as it stands here. But I'm willing to take a risk and say, let's go in some new and creative directions to create something bigger and better for the whole community. But I want to flesh out the next 2 documents as part of this and vote on it as a whole, that I know that if it's going to come out of our budget for the next 3 years, does that outweigh the amount that we're going to raise from taking this ordinance and putting it in place, that we're going to have to instead supplement tourism? Or is there going to be an exponential growth? And as far as the park improvements go, I mean, we're wanting to create this, and this seems to be a funding mechanism for those. But as yet, this body's only discussed improvements for the baseball fields as a phase 1, and we've had no conversation about how we're going to fund, what our priority projects are for any of the future phases. And I'm a little annoyed that every time I bring up questions that I should be able to do, and as an obligation as an elected official to this community to make sure I'm fully informed, that I can talk to anybody on the street that stops me at Kroger or Walmart or right out here on Main Street, that I have the answers to give them about how it's going to work. And I seem to be combated more often than not that, well, we've been having these conversations. You've been having them in committees. They're not public, they're not advertised, and they've not been part of the process. This whole court is the elected body that makes these decisions as one unanimous. We're not committees. We're not independent actions. Yes, we can bring things forward as individual elected officials, but right now, I think I'm going to have to make a motion if I can, that I want to table these two ordinances until May, and to proceed with a committee that is established to flesh out the MOU between the city, the county, the tourism office, as well as any other parties that need to be, and the other contractual obligations that we need to make, so we fully understand exactly how this is going to roll out in the long term. And I'll make that as a motion right now, that we table this until May, but allow it to progress to establish those other documents and to inform the public.
So we're gonna pick this back up in May, and then you're gonna give me grief because I'm rushing at the last minute, because we have all these things.
No, Judge, that's not what I'm
We
saying.
can't make any motions in
Can't make a
work
motion in
session.
All right,
I'm saying there's a motion
Yes, we
on
can.
the
Anytime
floor.
we're together, we can make
There's
a
on
motion
the
to
floor,
take
so
an action.
There's gotta be a,
is there a second?
I want to make really clear that I have a lot of respect for all of the work that you guys have put into this. I sincerely do. And I've told you, and I've said it in the last court, there are things I really like about this and that I'm hopeful for. I do not understand when really, without the other two, this doesn't mean anything, why it's necessary to do it tonight when people are so concerned. I don't know why we need to rush it, so I'm going to second that.
And Judge,
Clerk,
for
you wanna call,
clarification,
clerk, you wanna
if
call
I-
roll?
Are we voting right now?
I don't know, if we got a second.
Okay.
Should we do it in voting session?
probably, you got a motion on the floor and you got a second on it, so that's the issue,
Is that a debatable
Typically,
issue? Is that a
voting is to
debatable-
occur in the voting session by the ordinances of this body, but a motion has been made and a motion is on the floor with a second. And so that ceases the discussion until this is voted upon. That's by the ordinances.
Judge, I just want to make clear, that's not to state that we can't have any further conversations. Part of my,
Your motion was to table this matter until May.
to table these two
That means it's
ordinances.
over. And so,
Table these two ordinances until May, and to allow the next 4 months for conversations with the broader community, any of the affected bodies, the city, the county, and to produce those other documents that we've been told we have to create over the next 4 months. I don't see where that harms anything. And then we have I want to see a effective May as a time to bring this back up, so everyone knows when this is going to come up, to be ready for it. We have a working time period to flesh out all the other elements, and we can amend that later on if things go well, and we say by February that we're ready to move forward, and everybody feels good, and we're on the great table, that we can always amend that.
Question, point of order, Mr. Attorney, is this a debatable motion or not?
I think the motion's already been made and seconded. I think.
So you can't debate this motion, non-debatable motion. Okay, then, vote.
I just want to make a statement that the majority of this body ran on building a park for this community. I just want everybody to remember that. I said the majority. And I didn't come into play until May of this year. And I've been trying to educate myself on this. I was not clear with it in the beginning, as I am now. But the people of Franklin County have asked for what is being proposed right now. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
If I can't debate it,
Discussion over?
if I can't
What I
debate it,
believe should be done is to take this to the voting session, vote first on the motion to table. Depending on the vote of that, then we can take up the,
But regardless, we can't discuss this anymore, is what you're saying.
I think that's, I'm not the one who made the motion and I'm not the one that seconded it. I didn't do that.
if this motion fails, then it's back on the floor.
Well, then you're gonna be in the voting session then.
Specifically, I said to table these ordinances, anything related to the development of committee or how this is going to roll out or the other two documents. I mean, it's relatable, but I would think we could have conversation, but either way.
He's the attorney here. He's the one that,
I think
gonna-
as we're sitting here tonight, this
It's a work session.
issue has to be decided. I mean, as far as whether or not to table this until May. I mean, that's the motion that's on the floor.
and could we go ahead and take the vote right now? And then if it fails, we could,
I think by ordinance, votes are to be taken in the voting session.
okay. All right, I guess we're gonna move on. Thought we were gonna keep talking, but it's not. That ended. All righty, Ben, you with us tonight? Oh, Autumn. How are you doing?
This one is just a second reading for a zone map amendment. You all gave first reading to at your last meeting for property at 6761 US 127 North, 6765, 6759, from a rural residential RR to an agricultural district AG zone.
All righty, I'm pretty sure nobody can ask Autumn anything, so is there any discussion very carefully on this matter? Okay. We're in 10.
The other one was the second part of the first. Yeah, so we're on 10.
Yeah, no, all good. No, it's good, all good. Clarification's good.
I'll just say in District 4,
Hold on.
we gotta talk about anything now?
Well, you can only talk about what's in this report, correct? I'm just wanting to make sure.
Talk about what's reflected in the minutes of the planning and zoning.
I was just gonna say, as far as District 4, I've not had any negative calls on this, so that's all I'm gonna say.
We can
The
only,
court can only consider what is of record from the
Oh,
planning and
okay,
zoning
well,
commission.
There's none in here either.
As you can only make a decision based upon what the record from the planning and zoning commission, because there was a determination made, or nobody requested a hearing before this body on this matter. So we can only consider what's of evidence or of record in that planning and zoning commission.
Thank you.
thank you, Autumn. Next?
All right, the next item that I have for you is an ordinance to update our fees for planning, zoning, and building inspection. My staff has been reviewing fees for some time. They've been working on this project. We looked at fees in surrounding counties in Scott, Woodford, and Shelby. Our building inspection fees and planning fees have not been updated in a significant amount of years. The electrical inspection fees were more recently updated in 2020, so there is just one change recommended to the electrical inspection section. Just a couple of other things to note. Basically, a little bit of this was reconfiguring where some of these fees lived within these ordinances. They were previously sort of broken down into inspections and then in plan review. We thought it made a little more sense for all of the building code permits and reviews to be listed in one section, and then all of the things that are related to the zoning ordinance and planning side of things to be listed in that second section. Did remove references to the Cabo 1 and 2 family dwelling code. That code has not been used in over 10 years. That we have the Kentucky residential code now, so we'll be just updating this to reflect that as well. Let's see. We are recommending that our commercial building inspection, building permits be updated to just match up with the state's permits. And then our residential recommendation is sort of falling in between what some of those other counties are doing, so we're kind of within the same range as where they are. And then the one recommendation for an electrical inspection change was for solar. The inspectors indicated that $50 was quite low for that. So we are proposing to raise that to $100. Happy to answer any questions.
Question for Autumn. Squire Blackburn.
Are these fees, are they commensurate with what the city is doing as well?
I am not sure how closely we looked at the cities. I think.
Because I know there can be some confusion when folks come in and say,
Sure.
oh, I'm in the wrong office, you need to go across the river and talk to them. And then they look at the fees. I know before, when we updated our schedules, we had all of our fees the same, and I just can't tell you if they've updated theirs or.
Squire Blackburn, I'm gonna speak on that. So when we kind of talked to them about this, they were gonna wait and see what we did. And so I appreciate Autumn and Mary Ann, Greg Owens, they've been working on this for like a year. So, I'm gonna assume that once, if we do pass this, then they need to update theirs anyways. They basically said, yeah, we'll see what you guys do and then we'll do it, basically, so,
And I'll
that's where
also note that there are fees for other activities that planning does that go to the planning commission and not to fiscal court, so those are not included in this. So if you notice that there are some things that are maybe missing, that's probably what that is, and we will be looking at those fees in the future as part of the comprehensive plan, but again, that doesn't really impact your all's day-to-day.
Okay, thank you. Squire Harden?
I had received a couple questions about you people on, some of our fees, like a $3 a circuit and 75 minimum on electrical. I've had, some proposals that maybe we fix a price, if it goes to $125 and that covers a blanket, simply because when they go to bid a project, they don't know, additions, add-ons, and then, what they bid in their price has to reflect back on the customer. So I'm just wondering if we had, taken in thought maybe to make a flat rate rather than a variable rate.
Okay, Autumn,
Just something to think
could
about.
you make note of that? And
Sure.
we'll talk to Marty and Sonny?
Yeah.
See what their thoughts are, and maybe specifically look at that with other, I know you all have, but Squire Blackburn.
Well, I do know for plan review, it's like a flat fee, I get it. But, when you're building a 1,800 square foot ranch, pretty straightforward. You're building a 12,500 square foot mansion, they go on plan review, you gotta dot lots of I's and cross a lot of T's. So I understand that. I know when we did this before, we had a problem where we had contractors that had bid out work, and when they started, the fee schedule changed and the timeline changed, and then that was tacked on to the back of the contractor, when in theory, this is gonna be for the people wanting the work done and require the permit. So I do know we made some adjustments with those folks to allow, if they had a document saying we gave this bid at this time and it was signed and it was ready, and our fee schedule changed like a week or after that,
Understandable.
we walked the line and made a logical decision. But that's just all I got to say with it. I know it's complicated. I know you put a lot of time in it.
And I wasn't trying to throw a wrench, it had been brought up to me since we received this packet, as I had discussed with a few people, and it was just a suggestion, maybe we should look at it.
Yep. So Autumn, if you could do a little homework there with your team. Squire Wisman?
Could I go through a couple of things with you,
Sure.
Autumn? In one section, we refer to residential as a modular home, $200 fee, but later on, we have a manufactured mobile homes, and it
Yeah.
doesn't say modular again. With the new styles of housing that are coming online, some production facilities in Louisville, I'm thinking our community judge talked about a housing study that was at the other night, and there was a lot of recommendations there about considering alternative types of construction that I think is going to come into play. I'm kind of wondering do we add some additional definitions, or do you think we're covered within the?
So those are defined kind of at the state level. Manufactured or mobile homes. Mobile home is technically defined as being constructed prior to 1976, I believe. So actually what we call mobile homes are not technically a mobile home defined under that in most cases. They're a manufactured home. And we don't inspect those at the county level. Those are all inspected by the state. They go through the KIBS program. And then a modular home is something that is coming in pieces instead of something that is completely whole, like a manufactured home would be whole and coming in on a chassis. A modular home is going to be reviewed as a stick-built home would be reviewed by our residential building inspection process. So that's kind of the difference there. We're not reviewing a mobile manufactured home other than just replacement to make sure they're meeting zoning requirements.
And then cell towers, there are those new local area cellular towers that are generally put in urban areas, right, but it's, my time at the city, we were having a long discussion about those, and I think we need, as a county, to come up with some permitting schedules and where those are allowed, because
Sure.
currently they're allowed anywhere by right within the utility easement. But I'm wondering, would the co-location cell tower, would that be, do you think that would fit currently with those?
So co-location would be whenever we have, that would typically be for your full-size cell towers, that are what we've been seeing over the years, that you're like 120-foot pole. One provider will come in and build that structure, and then another provider is able to co-locate on that. So you can see on some of them where they have multiple layers of material. I think what you're talking about is maybe more of the 5G poles that are typically either on like street lights or they're kind of at that street light scale. So that would not be considered a co-location. I don't think that they are co-locating with those in the same way. So this co-location would just be for those.
I'd like us to consider a fee structure
Yeah.
or a permitting structure or, you know, some type for that. And then, you know, there's been a lot of discussion, and I'm kind of on the opposite opinion in some ways about, we have a new addition to this short-term rental annual registration. There's been a lot of discussion in this community about occupied by owners or purpose ran as a full-time entity. And I'm always cognizant of our community being the center here, that things like Derby Day, when someone would like to rent their home for a couple weekends a year, you know, this is, along with whatever city fees, and this could potentially be a negative in those. And yet there are many negatives associated with short-term rentals anyhow. So it just seems, I know you have some experience on it. I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you came up with that and how you think that's going to function with that fee structure.
Sure. I think that what you're talking about was sort of what I would call a hosted short-term rental, where someone is just renting out their house like once or twice a year, or maybe they're there while they're renting it out. That's going to require some updates to our zoning code for short-term rentals. Right now, we really only get into the non-owner occupied short-term rentals, and those are all conditional uses. They're going through the BZA, and the zoning ordinance currently says, requires that those be registered annually. So we're doing that, but we haven't been charging any fee for that annual registration. The number that we came up with here is consistent with what the city just passed. And so that's kind of where we came up with that number, recognizing that there could be wiggle room there.
And thank you. And I'm generally just slightly concerned that some of the fee structures are jumping 200%. That I don't want to do anything that's going to counteract. We already have a reputation as being difficult, and there's lots of reasons for that, mostly because we actually have standards that we implicate and some surrounding communities really don't. So, you know, that's part of having better results. I love that saying, when do diminished expectations beget better results generally. So, but I'm wondering if not next year, if there's feedback or pushback, we kind of take a look at that and maybe what the city's done, if we haven't pushed the envelope a little too far on some of our fees. I don't really have any general concerns other than the short-term rental, that I think that's probably high. But I'll take your all's recommendations. Thanks.
Any other questions for Autumn? Autumn, again, thank you, and please thank your team for doing a lot of good work there. I think it's been way too long to get where we need to be. Thank you. Chief, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good evening.
Good evening, Court. Hope everyone's doing well. So this item is requesting authorization to approve the new compensation plan for the fire department. The court members will recall, back during the budget process, we presented a new compensation plan through a meeting with the judge and the treasurer, the finance committee, and the committee of the whole. The increase for line 175120121, which includes the shift personnel, is all budgeted for. There's a copy of the pay scale in there as well. We've also, it was kind of a little bit of oversight on my end for the other position. because it falls under a different line item, I didn't compare it initially. But I also feel that position is very vital to make sure that our full compensation plan is whole and accurate moving forward, and it's corrected among all positions. And I'd be happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Chief, before you say any questions, I know you have a couple team members in the audience, and I just want to thank you gentlemen for all the work you do for Franklin County. So it means a lot to all of us up here, okay? Any questions for Chief? I believe it's pretty much like we had talked about in the budget session, minus that one position that was missed by accident. So
Yes,
that-
and we will be able to cover that under budget transfer.
Yeah.
We have some trucks that are
Yeah.
going to come in under budget,
Yeah.
so.
So I think my next question would be, Amy, are you okay with this?
The right person to ask.
Chief, thank you. Good evening, Amy.
Hello. So again, if you remember during our budget process, we budgeted a 3% mid-year increase. Now, there are some exceptions to this increase. Of course, the fee offices, the clerk and sheriff are covered by their annual order, and that's at the discretion of the sheriff and the clerk. Also, the park and golf staff, excluding the park clerical, received an adjustment July 10th, so that 3% excludes them. And then a separate agenda item covers the firefighters and the assistant chief. Has been budgeted. The impact is $90,000, and again, it's part of the budget.
Amy, I just want to thank you for this because I know over the last 2 years it's been a little different how some raises were given in July, some in January, and I know we talked at great length as a team here to let's just pick one or the other, and that's what we're going to go with. And I appreciate you working on this because I know it's been a little tough, so thank you. Any questions for Amy? Squire Wisman.
Judge, just more comments. I just want to thank all the staff. I think our county generally, in my experience with many other municipal governments around the state, I think we have a fantastic group of people that really care about their jobs and go above and beyond regularly. So I'm happy to give them this. But I just want to bring up for conversational purposes, when we hired our new HR director, and many times in the last 2 years, and in many meetings, we've talked about a compensation study, and I'd like to ask if we can put that on the first agenda for January. When we hired our new HR director, that was part of the conversation about her job and experience with that. So before we get into the budgeting session for next year, I want to see where we're at, with everybody. Like we talk about all the time, we have 4 units of government in this town, and we're all competing for the same people very often. And skill sets and pay rates are drastically different across this region. So I would really like us to finally have that conversation and look about how we can address doing that compensation study before next year's budget comes in July.
Any other questions for Amy before we move on? Okay, Amy, let's keep moving.
So the next is to authorize opening 3 new accounts. A 30-day CD for $6.675 million just came due with traditional. That CD earned $24,365.43. I do have a change as to what I want to invest. I'd like to do the $6 million for 30 days. The next 2, I have $4 million. I'd like to drop that down to $3.5 million each. So $3.5 million for a 60-day, $3.5 million for a 6-month. And on your desk, there should have been the rates that I've gotten from the local banks. The rates are about 1% less than a year ago, unfortunately, for us.
Amy, is your recommendation to go with the highest return on all 3? I'm
It is.
assuming.
It is.
Okay.
Again, I want to thank you for taking this over. I think This is amazing that we are finally investing our money. We're making money. It's not just sitting there. I can't thank you and CashVest enough. Thank the local banks. I think they were all stepping up to try to get our business. But I think it's just all great. There's nothing bad about this. I can't say anything but happy dances right now. So
Yes.
it's all good stuff. Anything for Amy before we move on to the next one?
Phenomenal job, Amy.
Just thank you. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
This is my favorite part of the job.
Alrighty, next one.
So this next agenda item comes because of the question, can we sell property that was purchased with ARPA money? And when I gave that question to Stites and Harbison, that is our counsel on ARPA money, and in your abstract you have the detail of what they said, but basically they said, yes, you can. The rules that apply to federal grants different from ARPA money. You can sell it. However, they said a federal auditor may interpret that different. And so they gave us an option. And that option is to have other expenses that we could use in place of that $850,000. Now, $850,000. I do want to say that I presented this to the Finance Committee, and this is not on the agenda because the Finance Committee backed it. I asked Judge if I could bring it so that the court as a whole could make the decision if you want to do this. There is an admin fee. It's $12,561.57. All of the ARPA money has already been obligated, so that money would come out of the general fund. But I just wanted to present this to you. This is something that Stites gave to me, so I'm presenting to you. And if I can, I'll answer whatever questions that you have.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to make, I guess, a point of clarification. The court as a whole always makes the decision. They're never made in committee. So the committee reviews some things and then information is brought forward. So the court as a whole always makes the decision. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of give a quick little backdrop to this. So when we had talked about selling that property that was purchased with ARPA funds, we went back and forth on this. We talked to the attorney. I called Senator McConnell's office. They called the Treasury Department. Person there said totally what we're doing is fine, especially if we're going to take the money and still invest it in a park. It's for the same purpose. Amy reached out to Compass. They reached out to the attorneys. They said, should be okay. And that's where it ended. And so fast forward to where we are now. Myself, I want Amy to be comfortable. I don't want this cloud personally hanging over her head for the next audit. So yes, it is a little bit of money, but in the scheme of things, it's really not. So for me, I am recommending, and that's why I asked her to go ahead and bring this forward to the full court, because I think it's a peace of mind. Unfortunately, we tried to reach back out to Treasury, and that gentleman wouldn't put anything in writing, and obviously the law firm here will put something in writing, but for a fee. So that's kind of where we are. At the end of the day, I feel like we're fine. I really do. But Amy is our treasurer, and I don't want her to worry for the next year about a federal audit digging us. Squire Blackburn.
So, the same folks that we're paying that recommended us to do this also recommended us to invest that money.
Yeah.
And
They've been our consultant,
benefit
basically. Yeah.
tremendously from it. This is a drop in the bucket for what they've done to us.
Yep.
And it's insurance on what we've already done. So it's a no-brainer.
Squire Wisman.
I guess for clarification purposes, Amy, the conversation to date, even though we've taken no action really on Duckers right now, has been to retain a portion of the property and sell off the periphery areas with the intent to make a park. So their recommendation, even though we're going to be retaining the majority of the land, was to transfer the whole original purchase price.
Yes.
And just a budget transfer effectively of that. Okay. Just wanted to verify that, please. Thank you.
I'm fine with, we need to, obviously, when they, send us a letter and saying we think it's all right, but the auditor might not, I don't see there's any choice what we're gonna do. I said, okay, it might be all right, but it might not, but now it's all right.
Yeah, it's a peace of mind, it really is, so.
But allows us to recoup this 12,000 from the sale of those properties, so.
Okay, Amy, thank you.
So next in your packet, excuse me, are the revenues and expenses as of December 13th. And I want to point out, as the sheriff said, we did receive our first property tax payment of $5.6 million. So that is the first line item there, the real property taxes. That's about 50% of our budget. The other is payroll tax, which is on down about 7 or 8 lines. And we are at 45.82% in collection there, hoping that we would be around 50% at this point. So we're a little bit lower, so just be mindful of that. And another line that I would like to point out is on page 3 of your revenues. This is the jail fund. We've had our first SAP program payments, so great job, jail. I'm so excited about that. So we should see that on a monthly basis now. If you have any other questions about this, I'd be happy to go over anything.
And speaking about that SAP program, I have asked the jailer, either the first or second meeting in January to come and kind of give us an update of how that program's working and things like that. I didn't want to try to squeeze it in today, so, but she is excited to do that. Any questions for Amy on this? All right, keep moving.
And then my last agenda item is cash transfer. I do cash transfers at the end of each quarter. And so this is moving funds from the general fund to the jail, fire, capital service, or capital debt service, and then moving the allocation or the obligation rather from ARPA to the capital debt service.
Any questions for Amy on the cash transfer? Amy, thank you for a great year.
Thank you.
All righty, payment of claims. We have the clerk, Kim, here to answer any questions on payment of claims. Alrighty, we're gonna keep moving. Authorization to go into closed session per KRS 61.8101B, deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency, but only when publicity would be likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by a public agency.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against, nay. We are going into closed. righty, thank you, Andrew. Do I have a motion to go into open session? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. We are in open session. Thank you, court. We are down to other business. Does anybody have any other business tonight before we go into the voting session? Alrighty, seeing none. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go into the voting session. So, this is December 19th, 2024, 5 o'clock. Well, it was work session. Now we're going to voting session. Clerk, please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Dykus.
Here.
Squire Harrod.
Here.
Squire Tanner.
Here.
Squire Wisman. Judge Miller.
Present. Thank you, clerk. Authorization for approval of minutes from the regular meeting of December 11th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the sheriff's participation in the state advancement program for calendar year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve sheriff's lump sum fee officials budget for the calendar year 2025.
So moved.
Second. Did you get that, clerk?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve sheriff's annual order setting maximum amount for deputies and assistants for calendar year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the filing of a supplemental application for the 2024-2025 Household Hazardous Waste Management Grant Fund with the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet Division of Waste Management as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to execute an easement located at 355 Flat Creek Road, also known as parcel number 031-00-00-039.01 with Frankfurt Plant Board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to execute an easement located at 9191 Owington Road, also known as parcel number 071-00-00-003.04 with Frankfurt Plant Board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. So, we have a motion on the floor to table the next two agenda items. The motion was made by Squire Wisman, and it was seconded, well, I guess, just go ahead and do it again, just so it's on record.
I can't regurgitate everything I said.
Just make a motion to table the next two agenda items.
So moved.
Well, I think it was until May of 2025,
With all the directives
if
that I
that's
gave.
what you were stating, and it looks like May 2025 regular meeting would be May the 14th, is the only regular meeting scheduled for the month of May, as we sit here now. Is that your motion?
And to establish a working group involving all affected parties to develop the resolution, the additional resolution, and the memorandum of agreement, right? Was that the other two documents that we needed?
Interlocal agreement.
And then a local agreement.
Which will
In
be
the
provided
interim.
by Eddie.
In the interim period. That should be sufficient.
And I think Squire Dykus, if I'm not
Well, we
mistaken.
gotta make sure, is there a second?
A second.
Clerk, before we go, are you okay with everything that was said?
Yes.
Okay. Please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
No.
Squire Blackburn.
I want to explain my vote. Now, public input for our park master plan that we completed in 2021, our consultant said it was higher than most that they had done in larger communities. We had more people fill out surveys and show up for that plan than we had for the comp plan and the future land use plan. That park master plan was a direct result of the public and stakeholder input. The park master plan recommends the formation of a sports commission. This is the first step. We need to find and appoint those members of that commission as set out by Kentucky statute. the folks from the hotel industry, the chamber people, and others. This will take time. Crafting the next 2 steps to finalize this process will take time. Crafting the interlocal agreement and the memorandum of understanding is going to take time. This all needs to happen simultaneously. And it's in the plan. You know, when that came before the court to adopt that master plan, there was people on the court that didn't want to vote for it, that hadn't read it. So it overwhelmingly speaks to me as public input from the people in our community. I've read it backwards and forwards. I'd suggest we all read it again to see what it says. The health and vibrancy of our community is reflected in how we treat and take care of our elderly and infirm, and the opportunities we create for our children. If we want to put a roadblock up, and I think as Squire Wisman said to our planning director, we've been known for roadblocks here in Franklin County. It's ironic. I don't want it to be a roadblock. I vote no to tabling it.
Squire-Dicus.
I'm going to explain my vote too. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with the input that my constituents have given me. And it is my job to make sure that their voices are heard. And that is what I'm doing. So I vote yes.
Squire-Harrod.
No.
Squire-Tanner.
I'd like to explain my vote, please. I'm also going to vote no. A reason for, part of this tabling date I did not understand. If you table it to May, then you push everything down the road to May. Just like Squire Blackburn said, there's a lot of things that have to be done, and nobody would start doing anything until we pass the ordinance in May. If it should pass after this vote, then you can start now working, filling those positions. You can look for your MOAs. You can do all those things, but you got to start somewhere. And to kick it to May to start, looks to me like jams it up again. That's my opinion. And I also know that there's going to be some words changed that should this pass to this ordinance, because it says January and it's got to be moved to July. So with that said, I vote no.
Squire-Wisman.
I'll explain as well. I don't mean to create an
impediment. I mean to force this body to be more transparent and to communicate with our citizens who are expressing their concerns here tonight, last week, and continually. I in no way referenced impediments. I said we can continue to let this go, and we'll create the other documents so that we have all this information and we can vote all of this through at once. And I would like to take the time period, at least for the next couple of months, to give the public some assurity that we're not taking an action without hearing their voices, to then come back with the whole package with all the answers that I don't have at the moment, to move forward to vote however we want to at that point in time, knowing that our tourism commission is whole, and knowing our special venue in town that is funded by these revenues is made whole, and that everybody is sufficient, that no one's losing jobs, that no contracts are shortcutted, and that we are not adding an undue burden in any way to our existing folks that are already working for this community every day. So I have to vote yes for the sake of transparency, effectively.
Judge Mueller.
No, motion fails. Second reading and approval of an ordinance entitled an ordinance repealing ordinance number 11-2022 and establishing an updated detailed pronouncement of the comprehensive procedures for the collection, distribution, and enforcement of a transit room tax as amended.
This is 10, is that correct?
This is 9,
Nine.
Squire.
9.
Yes.
Judge,
This
you've
is
amended.
8.
It's 8.
This is 8.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, this is 8, yeah. I got some words on change on 9 also.
There was an amendment, I understand, to dates on both documents that you were suggesting?
One of them for me, I think. They are.
As amended is the July 1.
Correct. Clerk, that's what you had, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So moved.
Second. Please call roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I want to explain my vote. I think the Squires captured quite a bit in the last commentary about the matter of timing to allow the full matter, the amount of time that it needs to progress adequately. And so that was something that harkened me back to the last court. In the last court, a vote was taken to hire an attorney and a professional firm to advise on matters with the county park master plan. That was taken in 21 or 22. I don't have the date because I didn't have time to do the research because it did jog my memory.
September 23rd, 2022.
Thank you, sir. 2022.
Yes.
I knew it was one or the other, I just couldn't remember. And the idea, this item that's before us would have been one of the matters that that attorney and professional firm would have advised upon. The vote, which was taken by this body, passed. However, the county attorney weighed in after the vote to say that the vote should never have happened, and then set aside the court's vote. So, proceeding with contracting with an attorney and a professional firm, that was stopped at that moment. And that delayed the entire discussion on this issue since that time. So, I too have heard from residents on every side. I've tried to reach out to individuals involved in this process. And I've heard from a lot of individuals who are eager for opportunities and amenities here. The vote on this tonight keeps that momentum moving forward. So with that, I'm a yes.
Squire Blackburn,
I'd like to say a little bit more. This vote tonight sets this ordinance up to allow the next two steps as the interlocal agreement the memorandum of understanding, which we have to craft. When I saw this first reading at our last meeting, I knew there's no way we were going to be able to enact it January 1. And I don't think the point of it was to do that. We've got to set up this commission. We've got to vet people. We've got to get the understanding. And if none of this, as it's set up, is liked by the full court or the people that we represent, we could stop in a heartbeat. But slowing it down at every turn. The first time this master plan was put in front of the community, the consultants were supposed to do that over a 200-page presentation. It was derailed, and 6 pages were shown to the public. And it was set on fire and hoped to die. And the next time we voted, there was 2 folks that voted against it. That weren't representing the majority of the people here in Franklin County. I didn't get on here to do anything special other than to represent the people in my district specifically, in Franklin County as a whole. And I can't tell you the millions of dollars that are sitting on shelves in this building and across the river for plans that had public input and professional consultants that did this stuff every day, and people balked because they didn't understand it. Read the plan. It's on our website. Look at McCracken County. See how they're doing this. Look at Bowling. Look at these communities that are doing this. We're not even doing it yet. We're saying we want to do it with this vote tonight. No money is earmarked in any way until these other 2 steps fall in place. And we can't do it all at once. If I could buy a car, title it, license it, get the insurance paid by talking to one person in one time, I'd do it. But that's not how it works. These are steps that have to take place, that we have to do, that we have to vet out. And we're doing it from people that have been there and done it. And it's to the betterment of our community. It's to the majority of folks that I talked to for the last 5 years. This is what we need in our community. And I'll put my stake in the ground on it. And if I don't win an election next time, that's fine. But I'm doing what I have been elected to do. And I vote yes.
Squire Dacus.
Okay, so I'm gonna say again, it wasn't about any of that. That was not what this was about for me. For me, it is about slowing down so that everybody feels comfortable, or at least the majority of people feel comfortable, including me. So that I know that I'm doing what is right for my constituents because of the questions I've been asked and have not been able to answer. That is why I wanted to slow down the process. I appreciate it being moved to July very much. And actually, after talking to Amy, I understand that May probably would not have worked well for a number of reasons. But again, I don't have all the information I need. I don't feel like I have that. And that makes me uncomfortable. And again, I understand that you all have been involved in this for a very long time. I have not. And I've gotten many, many phone calls of people that are unhappy because they don't understand what's going on. That's the reason that I seconded that motion. But because of the move to July, I'm going to vote yes.
Squire Harrod.
I have talked to people on both sides of the dime. I've talked to people in favor. I've talked to people that don't know. I've talked to people who are adamantly against it. With that being said, I've talked to more people that want to see this for the Franklin County than that do not. So with that being said, I vote yes.
Squire Tanner.
I have one more comment, please. Moving this to July, 6 months down, because everybody, as you said, everybody knows we couldn't have put on a tax January the 1st. It was much too close. There's nothing that, to my knowledge, that prevents this fiscal court from rescinding this ordinance before July the 1st, 2020, I had the right date, July the 1st, 2025. We can repeal it if it's not going good, if the wheel runs off somewhere, if we don't get something done that has to be done, or it looks like we're not holding somebody, we can stop it any time between now and July the 1st. So I think Delaney would be a mistake, so I'm moving forward. Yes.
Squire Westman.
I'll explain too.
My argument was not about halting this process. It was that from the information I've been given, there's not a single reason why this has to happen tonight and why it had to be presented to us 2 weeks with 1 week between, the week before Christmas at the end of the year when this has been in process for a long time. And my understanding is the attorney has had some documents ready for some time. If this court is going to choose to meet behind closed doors, keep members of this court uninformed, and the public. I mean, we are citizens of this community and public servants, elected public servants. I'm not saying that that was the intent here, but I'm time and time again frustrated that that is the seemingly the process that we're going through. I'm not saying that I'm against this at all. I don't know yet. I don't have enough information, and there's too many unanswered questions, and we have too many agencies and too many individual people and a whole lot of things that are affected that aren't defined in any way. I don't like to go on whims and feel-good explorations without the concrete evidence. Like I've said in this court so many times, my job is to punch holes in these things to make sure they hold water when we let them go and hope that they arrive in maturity for the good of this community. I want to see fantastic things for our town. I want to make sure that we are all-encompassing. As I mentioned last meeting, I want to make sure that whatever this becomes, because it's obvious that it's going to go forward, is not just about a ball field, that it is so much more about natural landscape, tourism, enjoyment of our river and our creek, and all the things that make us incredibly unique that we've not monopolized on so far. Because I don't have the information that I feel that I need or the public needs to move forward, I'm going to have to rely on the wisdom of my colleagues, and I think I'm just going to vote present.
Judge Mueller.
Yes. Motion passes. Excuse me.
Point of order. Ask a point, have a point of order.
Go ahead, Squire.
County attorney, you have to tell me. I had a colleague on the court, I've just heard that that there are some kind of secret meetings going on, so I'm gonna ask who's in the secret meetings. I'm just gonna ask it, because I'm not in them.
We are not having secret meetings, and I think it's very offensive that somebody would
I'm
accuse
just
this
trying to make
office
sure
of having
if it-
secret meetings.
if
And if
I'm
somebody
not-
wants to be brought up to
if it's
speed
not
on a
on
plan,
board.
who's a grown adult, and especially has had the same document
Judge.
we've all had for 2 years,
Judge.
2 weeks. you
That's
can-
unacceptable.
Wait a minute.
I have asked this court constantly over the last 2 years to have more open meetings, to announce when we have committee meetings, that anybody, including
It's on the
myself, can
website.
come.
They're all on
No,
there.
they
There's all
aren't.
public information.
They're
Yes, they
not
are.
regularly
Yes, they are.
done.
We checked.
So-
All right, let's move on. Second reading, approval of an ordinance amending an ordinance officiating the withdrawal of Franklin County from the Franklin County Tourist and Convention Commission and establishment of a separate and independent county tourist and convention commission to be known as the Franklin County Sports Tourism Commission.
So moved.
I'd like to have a change in that, please, sir.
Okay?
On page 2, under F, where it says, Franklin County Fiscal Court shall annually approve a proposed budget and request for funds. I would like to move that we remove the words "and request for funds."
Did you say page 2?
Yes, it's on page 2, F.
Page 2, which section?
F. Section 2, F.
What did you want removed?
The words "and request for funds."
Okay.
I believe we discussed that a little with our Paducah attorney.
Square question, last meeting, you said that and the approve. Did you
Well, it
want
says
both?
if you can approve proposed budget, but then if you put "and request for funds," you got to approve them both. And so removing that, you wouldn't have to approve the request for funds, or they wouldn't have to permit that. That's the reason I'd like those words out.
Max, you see any problem with that?
Do we need to vote on that, Mr. Attorney?
Yes. Do we need to finish the first motion before that's done? There was a motion made and then that was
It's not been
second
seconded
brought up.
yet. So I'd rather make a correction first before we vote on it.
I think it, like I said, if you all want to vote with it as amended with those 4 words out, and I guess the other amendment of the change of the date from January to July.
Well, the other one we've already passed, and I just said as amended. So I think that one's, I feel like it's okay.
I think the motion was that it be
The
presented as,
statement,
with those 2 amendments, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm losing track here. The state, it would then read, the Franklin County Fiscal Court shall annually approve a proposed budget submitted by the Franklin County Sports Tourism Commission. That's the way it would read if this amendment passed.
Okay, so Max, could we do this? Could
Squire,
I
you're
have
moving to approve with
Squire
that
Blackburn rescind his table
I'm trying to
since it
get
hasn't been
this-
seconded?
I gotta
And let's go
approve
ahead and
that
make the
first.
change first. Go ahead, Squire.
I just wanted to ask Fire Tanner a question. So there's 2 pieces in here that talk about requests for funding. In
Okay,
that
we're-
section F, do you want them both?
Well, it probably should be to make
That's
it
what
read
I'm
correctly.
thinking.
The commission shall
Okay.
submit a proposed annual budget and request for funding. It should take that out also.
Yes, sir, I'm just to be consistent.
So that's 4 more words, which is the same phrase twice. One on line 2, another on line 3, 4.
I'll rescind my motion. And I'll make a motion to approve that as amended.
Just so we're clear, that would be 3 amendments, correct?
I just saw 2. Is it 3?
The date,
Yes.
those
with
4
the-
words
with the
taken
July.
out twice.
That's the.
That'd be 3 different
Wait,
portions
July.
of that document being
Wait,
amended.
I don't think the date's in this one, Max. The date-
Okay.
July.
Date's
July
on the
is
second
not in
one.
this
It's
one.
in the first one.
With those 2 amendments.
Yes.
There's
stand corrected.
another date in
Yeah.
here, but if you don't want to change that date.
Yep.
No.
Okay.
And it
With
gives
those-
us, it
with
gives
those
us,
2.
it brings them in front of us months in advance of us
Yes.
seeing the budget, which is exactly what we want.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Present.
Motion passes. Okay, make sure I know where I am now. Let's try this again.
Now we vote.
Second reading and approval of an ordinance amending an ordinance officiating the withdrawal of County from the Franklin County Tourist and Convention Commission and the establishment of a separate and independent county tourist and convention commission to be known as the Franklin County Sports Tourism Commission.
So moved.
As amended, right?
Well, we already voted on it, the amendment, so.
Second.
Okay, let's go ahead and just do roll on this one too, if you don't mind, clerk.
Square Sebastian,
Judge, I'm just gonna make sure I know what I'm voting on.
Okay.
Okay. So we're actually voting on item 9 now as amended. We voted first to amend it,
Right.
correct? And this is voting on item 9 now as amended, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure. Yes.
Square Blackburn,
Yes.
Square Dykus,
Yes.
Square Harrod,
Yes.
Square Tanner,
Yes.
Square Westman.
Let me explain and ask a question. So with that amendment, this creates a brand-new entity effective immediately, because there is no effective date that I see that's delayed till July, like anything else. So the entity is going to be created at some point sooner than later, and they are going to have to present us a budget March 1st, according to this.
So-
Whether they have zero budget or no money or anything at all, this is the directive we're setting up. Again, a lot of those things that I was asking for haven't been answered, and this entity is going to have to go through a process that hasn't been defined yet. And I just think it would have been better just to wait on this a little bit further and have more of that fleshed out, including the edits that were just made. And we had a conversation last week about the name and the nuance and those kinds of things, which we can obviously edit at any point in time, but this makes this ordinance effective immediately. So again, I don't have those answers entirely, so I'll vote present.
Judge Mueller,
Oh, we have a question from Square Dykus.
Can I ask a quick, just clarify? Is that okay? Or no? I'm fine either way. Don't look at me like that, Max. No, I'm kidding.
Why don't you ask it to me, because I haven't voted yet.
Okay. I think that, I don't know. I want to make sure that I understand that what this is doing really is just like a budget's a budget. It's not, there's no money behind it. And that you will now be able to appoint people, correct? That's really what's happening?
Yes.
Okay, thank
We'll
you.
be starting the process
I just want people to
as we work on the
understand
other two
that.
pieces.
Okay, thank you.
Judge Mueller,
I just want to say, I appreciate all the conversations. Everybody that was in this room tonight, for me, is a friend, is a neighbor. I think this has been a long journey. I think we have to start somewhere. I'm appreciative of the court when I go back to that September 23rd date, when we hired the Hitchcock Group with Eddie Jones to establish the Sports Commission, and it is part of this plan. This is something our community has talked about. Yes, there is some things that we need to work out, and we've been very vocal about that, and we've been meeting with tourism, we've been meeting with Save the Grand. We are not trying to take anything away from anybody. We are trying to build this community to what it should be. And I am ecstatic right now that this majority of the court is going through with this, and I just want to say thank you, and I am a yes. Motion passes. Second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the table of special ordinances, Section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 27.02 acre of property located at 6761 US 127 North, 6765 US 127 North, and 6759 US 127 North, from rural residential RR to agriculture district AG. The property is identified as PVA map number 071-00-00-038.00, 071-00-00-038.02, and 071-00-00-038.04.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This would be a first reading of an ordinance amending ordinances number 1, parentheses 2009, ordinance number 8-2017 and ordinance number 5-2020 by amending the general provisions contained in Chapter 150 of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances is to update permit and fee reviews for inspections and reviews conducted by the Planning and Zoning and Building Codes Department. No vote will be taken at this time. Authorization to approve the new compensation plan for the fire department.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve a 3% pay increase for employees under direct supervision of the county judge executive and in the following departments: county judge's staff, county attorney's office, coroner's office, human resources, planning and zoning, maintenance, IT, dog warden, treasurer, occupational tax, friend of the court, community development, solid waste, park, clerical, road, jail, and fire, admin, chief, and admin.
So moved.
Second. Did you get that, clerk?
Who's second?
J.W.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Court. Authorization to authorize the treasurer to open the following certificates of deposit for $6 million for 30 days on behalf of the fiscal court to improve investment earnings.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the treasurer to open the following certificates of deposit for $3.5 million for 60 days on behalf of the fiscal court to improve investment earnings.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to authorize the treasurer to open the following certificates of deposit for $3.5 million for 6 months on behalf of the fiscal court to improve investment earnings.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve an American Rescue Plan Act State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund written justification.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve cash transfers for fiscal year 2024-2025.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Payment of claims. Is there a motion to deny any payment of claims? No motion was made. Let the record reflect claims are to be paid. Before we adjourn, I just want to say it's been a fabulous year to this court. We've gotten a lot done. We've had a lot of meetings. I want to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and I hope everybody's safe. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you.